Howdy everyone, and welcome back to Counter's Casual Competition. We're just about to get started here today. It's very cold here in the UK, as my fellow co-host will be able to attest to in just a moment. For anyone who's coming to the stream for the very first time, just a few reminders of how everything's going to be working today. We're going to have 3 rounds of TFT competition, at the end of which whoever's the highest 2 will gain themselves guaranteed prizes. For everybody else, they'll have to settle for randomized prizes. We'll be Swiss seeding throughout the event. So it means that anyone who does do well will play against other people doing well. Anyone who's doing less than well will be able to play against other people in a similar situation. Some of our giveaways today include, for some clips, which I'm very behind on because that involves actually watching stuff. Oh, how terrible. You can win RP for making one of the clips from the tournament stream. That's not of your game, but from the tournament stream itself, because we're going to try and use that for advertising in the future. We also have our prizes for random players. So previously we were giving away a prize to a streamer. Because we've now got the observing spectator mode in the game, we're going to be switching that to just a generalized prize. And if you'd like to see more of my own personal casting, you can do so by joining my Discord with a link there, which will pop up in the chat from time to time as well. But with all out of the way, let's get on to introducing our co-host for today. Whoop and a whoop. So, they have some pre-prepared statements. Let me grab them for you. So, firstly, to my right, he is a gentleman known as Mr. Worldwide, aka Disco Dazzler, has spent his entire life traveling the world, and every second of it has led to this glorious cast. His favorite games are Stardew Valley, League of Legends, and TFT. He's studying esports production at NTU, Nottingham Trent University, and just started the Riot Games Society. Good job. A future Newell and NSC champion. Oh my gosh. It's DrySalad. Welcome to the stream. How you doing?
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. About 80% of that was true. I can't confirm whether or not I'm going to become the future champion of Newell or NSC, but we're going to be trying our best. Me and a couple of other members of this server, actually, I think. I've seen Wet Noodles on here, maybe a couple of other faces, but yeah, really happy to be here. It's great to see TFT flourishing, as always, and this is now my 3rd TFT cast, so I'm getting more experience in the game, obviously more used to League and Valorant and other things, so lovely to be here.
Well, we will not be here alone. Alongside DrySalad, he comes to today's cast not alone himself. Oh my gosh, effectively it's going to be a quad cast today because he's coming with his bird Rakan, an aspiring pro TFT player who got 16th at the Las Vegas Open and 68th at the most recent Golden Spatula Cup, trying out casting for the first time and looking forward to talking about his passion. It's Stormy and Rakan. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, great to be here. I live and breathe TFT at the moment, play a lot of TFT, watch a lot of TFT, so be good to give out casting a go.
Oh. So, we'll be getting into our first game in just a second. Let me just bang that up on... oh no, we can see the standings, we can see all the folks playing here today. So, just before we do get started, of course, with our first of 3 games, starting with you, DrySalad, what kind of stuff are you playing at the moment? What are you liking? What are you thinking is particularly strong? And our players might be playing today.
Yeah, well, I mentioned that I'm known as Disco Dazzler, not for no reason. I've always been a fan of the Disco Dazzler comp. I think my issue with TFT oftentimes is I'm very into just playing comps which feel good and comps which sound good, because obviously the way that the beatbox works in the game, and I love the disco soundtrack a lot and the hyperpop soundtrack a lot. So getting that Lulu in and starting to hear that hyperpop come in is something that really kind of tickles my brain. But yeah, I also really love playing Heartsteel. Whenever I get Heartsteel early game, I try and force it as much as humanly possible, which means I haven't been able to get out of Plat this season because I'm just a little bit of a griefer. But that's okay. It's not my main game. I don't mind being hard stuck in mid-elo. Yeah, if I see some people run some more confident comps, I think that's what I like to see. I like to see people who go for those sort of lost streaks into hardcore flipping their comp later in the game. I like to see people build things. Maybe you'll try a bit outside the box, you know, not just forcing the flat meta every time, and I think that'll be more interesting to me.
That's a question to you, Stormy.
So I think this patch we've started to see it develop a bit since last weekend. And of course, this has been sort of the rise of the executioners. We've had Twin Terror pop-up loads. We've had Twitch and Vex in like country comps and stuff as well with the 4 executioners. And very recently, like this week as well, we've seen the 6 executioners come online. So I'm interested to see if anyone's picked up that 6 executioners is insanely broken if you manage to get it all together, and see if any of those are going around just popping teams. They just instantly blow up front lines, blow up the back lines. It's kind of cool, also kind of not cool when you're playing against it, but hoping to see at least one of those comps come online.
Yeah, it feels like, I think it's something that people started experimenting with when they realized they couldn't always hit Twin Terror in any given game. So they figured, screw it, might as well try. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see that coming through. I guess, to go around again, starting with you, Salad, are there any compositions that are a little bit more outside of what's been generally played that you would like to see people messing around with today?
Yeah, sure. I mean, just to quickly bounce off what you said earlier as well, I think when you're mentioning Twin Terrors, obviously we're going to probably be seeing exposed weakness take quite a lot of priority over everything as well, but a bit more on the outside comps. I think some of the comps that have fallen a bit more out of favor, the reroll comps, when we're thinking about the 1-star carries, seem to have fallen out of favor quite a bit. I know punk units are quite popular, especially when you're considering throwing in the executioners. You know, a lot of people like to throw in Twitch with the country comp, as Stormy mentioned. But focusing on punk only seems to be a bit more favored if you do hit Twin Terrors, and when you don't hit it, it seems to kind of be falling outside the meta a little bit. But mainly, I just like to see people that sort of focus on secondary carries that most people wouldn't a lot of the time, right? So, if you think about the standard carry in a certain comp, I like to see when people make somebody else within that comp their main carry and try to build a comp around that and see how flexible they can be and see how much they're willing to manipulate the meta. So, if you're building a Heartsteel comp, you know, not necessarily going for the Ezreal carry, or if you're building a country comp, not necessarily going for the Samira carry, that sort of thing, just kind of mixing it up a little bit so we have something to talk about.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Twin Terror happen, but you know, maybe it's contested, maybe you can't get the executioners, and the dark tech is Twin Terror Lulu. I've played it.
All right, I'm here for it.
It's not great, I'll tell you that, but it can be great. It can be great. I'm excited to see if anyone pulls it out. You know, if you're listening and you're about to play in the tournament, if you're contested Twin Terror Lulu, it does work. You probably want a jeweled gauntlet, or like jeweled lotus, but it's interesting. It's interesting. They buff each other, they go crazy, and just like permacast is pretty fun.
Yeah. you mentioned the Twin Terror Lulu. I remember because we were on call yesterday as well with a couple of casters talking about that planning for a future event. And I remember I brought up the concept of Twin Terror Bard carry, which just looks it's
Ooh.
not good. It's not good at all, but it can guarantee you top 4 in like most lobbies. So
Okay.
I've been trying to force Twin Terror Bard quite often, and for some reason it gets me like minimum 3rd pretty much every time I play it. I can never win ever because he just falls off way too hard. But getting into those later stages in the game, just like confirming LP has been so good, and the Bard. When the Twin Terror Bards start playing that little tune and start double casting together and just popping the dudes everywhere, it's magnificent to watch.
I mean, to be fair, of all the taunts of TFT that exist, I would say this is the one that you're most directly able to influence as a caster, because there have been multiple instances per tournament of people deciding to just take whatever it is we're saying, just run with it because they want, just the memes. So, if you want to see a Lulu or a Bard Twin Terror composition, then, best supporter is in there saying, we're going to get into the AD Soraka area of things. I think it should be a good time. It looks like with everything, we have got ourselves a... we're figuring out a lot of stuff for the first time here, so we have got ourselves our first game actually starting for today. So we're going to choose which table by randomize the wheel as was suggested by chat. Please excuse the only professional production going on here. Salad, would you mind counting us in for our first table draw?
Ooh, okay, we're doing 3 seconds, 5 seconds?
Yeah, wherever you feel.
Okay, let's do 3. Let's do 3, 2, 1, and spin.
Who's it going to be? Could it be you, gentle viewer? It's going to be... Table 3. Alright. Let's go back to there. Let's find someone who's at table 3. That's Believe, Savachiro, Henk, Chashinanchi. I know Chashinanchi added me on here before, so let's go. And for the very first time in TFT counter competition history, going to be able to actually observe something that's coming up. So we'll have a little bit of delay on that coming in, because as everyone may well be aware, we don't watch in real time, we watch on a slight delay. So this unfortunately will affect our ability to directly tell players what to do, which is what we do all the time on this cast. We're like, have you tried doing this? And they're like, alright, I'll give that a go. Yeah. So probably it's for the best. But yeah, we'll be getting into that game soon. Observing today will be Giga. So please do give Giga a shout out in the chat for helping out there. Of course, as always, our admin is Wet Noodles, who is, if you're playing, you've definitely come across and is in the chat as well. It's absolutely everywhere. Probably the hardest working admin I've come across personally for a long time. In a field where people are generally work too hard as a general rule. Alright. I believe it's just about to load in. So once we do, we'll start things off. So again, our first lobby, let's see, so it's table 3, round 1. Let's just bring that up. Oh nice, that's going to be up on screen already. I'm just going to do this just to show off, because we can do it.
What we really need is to get that Tournament Realm subscription from Riot.
Yes!
Get us back on the servers.
Well, that's our players for this one. So Chachinanchi, of course, and Lieben, long-time players in the TFT competition. Believer as well, very active on the server, which generally just means that people are going around making a mess of the place. I guess, so we've already mentioned the dream scenarios here of seeing people running, say, a Lulu or Bard Twin Terror competition. Are there any other parts of the meta either of you would like to mention before we get into actually discussing Game 1?
This is not necessarily directly part of the meta, but if anyone hits 10 Heartsteel today, I might have a secret prize ready.
A personal
if someone
prize.
can force 10 Heartsteel.
Alright, Salad, I like the way you think. I can only hope it's your poster of the Mandalorian. Which...
They get to watch me put up my second and third posters behind there.
I mean, that's an exciting proposition. Stormy, from your side of things?
Okay, I've got more forbidden tech. I've got the Superfan Na reroll.
Oh, I like
it. I
it.
was watching the KDA Cup, but Dishop pulled it out on day 3. He got a 5th. It was a very low roll game though. I pulled it out in a Wandering Trainer game in Challenger. I got 2nd, so it does work. I'm just saying. I did have a very good Wandering Trainer for it though, but I'm down to see that as well. That's some more forbidden tech in case anyone's out there listening.
What's
He just jumps in, starts killing backline.
So if I remember previously, the problem was that Nile would take aggro from like the entire board immediately. He doesn't do that anymore. So does he just instantly? Is he functionally an assassin then?
Not quite. It really depends on how their board is set up. A lot of the time, he jumps in and he still hits front line. So it's a little bit awkward. But if you have 5 Superfan, he gets a Radiant Sterax. He's really tanky as well. He can absorb a lot of power, like damage for your team. And if you can get eventually to like having some pentakill units online, like a Karthus, who can also help kill the backline, then, you know, it's kind of like the Karthus Akali comp, except you have a big, bulky Gnar.
Alright. I mean, it definitely feels like we're in a space now where, with the set being maybe a little bit longer than it had been previously, we're getting things a bit further through in terms of what's viable longer term, but it looks like, I believe... oh, interesting. There we go. So the Observer's still a little bit busted at the moment, but it looks like it's working well enough for our purposes, so... Let's jump into game and start us off here. Hopefully everything will start loading in just a second or so. I'm going to leave this in the hands of our Observer, Jacob, for this point forwards, as we'll get things started off. So again, Josh actually leaving, Monochrome, Henk, Believer, Majestic Wallaby, what a great name, Staffachiro, and Samir Mona are our players here today. So it looks like we've got a few people who have managed to get some strong early starts. Let's see, so leaving side of things, we've got the Disco. Well, I know, sorry, dry. Sorry, we've got wet noodles and we've got a dry salad. Oh my gosh.
Switch it up a bit today.
So dry, as our resident Disco expert, what do you think of leaving start?
Yeah, I mean, getting the set this early on makes it a lot easier to spec into this. I think one of the main downfalls of Disco Dazzler is if you can't find a carry early enough to hold your TF items on, it can feel a bit weak. Because that Nami, although her bubble does have a really high AP ratio on it, 99 times out of 100, she will be casting it on the wrong person, and she'll just end up, you know, last hitting somebody who's already 20 HP, and it feels like useless ultimate, and then even if you have a tanky frontline, you're just not doing enough damage. So getting a Lux early on could really help sort of scale this into the later stages before they can eventually find that TF. And it'll be interesting to see what sort of version of the Disco Dazzler come to go for. Because, you know, there's the Sentinel Blitzcrank version, there's the Disco Blitzcrank version, Disco TF version, Dazzler TF version, etc, etc. So just seeing which way they choose to spec in that way. Do we know what portal it was?
It looks like it's the loaded carousels here.
Oh yes, sorry, I was looking at the screen. I was looking at the screen. I saw the 2 items, and I was like, "This feels like yeah, loaded carousels." Which again, for the Disco Dazzler comp will be good in at least securing all those various carries, the items, maybe getting attack speed on those hyper pops and Shojins, etc.
Yeah, I think the loaded carousel is really useful because the TF comp really benefits from having like another carry, because TF can't quite do it alone. When you have the Ziggs or Sona really late game going online, and even early game getting like the Lulu, I think she does a lot of damage, a lot of CC. So it's really good to have those few extra items you get from this.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep scooting around then. So we know Chachinanchi's also been on a win streak, so she's got a setup, a very traditional setup here, with the Corki to carry through the early game. The Idealism, though, does tend to suggest that we're not necessarily sticking here long term.
Yeah, I mean, the Idealism, it can be really good in deciding what sort of carry you're looking to go for. Obviously, the bonus damage, as well as just Hodge being such a nice item to have on a lot of more frontline focused carries. Good on quite a few Executioner Champs as well. I mean, you can have it on the Akali, even on Twitch in some scenarios. Very good item if you're going Crowd Divers, etc. Just a very versatile item on a lot of different types of carries. And with the Idealism, that bonus damage will be so nice in the early game as well. Currently sitting on that headliner Corki, who has the Deathblade as well from the Superfans, so very nice, strong early start.
Yeah, I think with Idealism, it's really good to play into the Superfan line as well, because if you manage to get to like Akali Karthus, then Akali has that Hodge as her superfan item, so you get one for free, and it just means that you have extra ones to splash around. It's really useful late game.
Alright, well, so far so good for Chush and Anchi. We'll see if there's a collision between Levin and Chush in this last round to see if their streaks remain intact. Henk here, leaning heavily into the Thieves' Classes would make sense. Has got the lucky odds to be able to make things just a little bit stronger. Actually going up against Levin, so this is one of the streaks against the other. I think Henk looks like isn't quite strong enough. I think the raw ball power of Levin's going to be enough to get through, though the Lilia on the front line is holding pretty well.
Yeah, the blue buff Jinx here, just switching and switching and switching and switching, and seems like it'll be enough eventually. This last heal from the Lilia should secure that life, and then Nami not going to be able to do anything on her own, so... Nice little win there going to Krug rounds. Seemed the only person who was able to hold on to a 5-win streak was, of course, Juzumanchi at the top there. Not as strong as it used to be, of course, because of the reroll. Because of the win streak and loss streak changes that happened, where it now is 6 wins in a row, 6 losses in a row for the highest level of streak. But still nice to be this healthy, to have that econ going into the PvE round.
Yeah, I think having that double sleight of hand early game really is very unfortunate for Henk that they didn't get the 5 streak there. You really, really hope with that sort of tempo augment and 2 Thieves Gloves that you get the 5 streak. So, 4 wins is still really good. As you said, with the streak changes, just getting wins is still a lot more economy. So it's still really nice to have that.
Yeah, and we mentioned, of course, counterfeit. We were doing a little look over at the patch a while ago, and we talked about the fact that as well these sort of comps which are able to just sort of keep you healthy and keep you alive because the economy has slowed down quite a lot, will be favored a lot more in general.
Yeah, I have to imagine it's a bit disappointing for Henk. I think if we go towards the bottom though, Samiroma is one of the players who's managed to keep a complete loss streak the entire way through, and looks like we are going to be seeing Stormy, as you perhaps hoped, anticipated for. We'll be seeing at least an attempt at a Twin Terror composition.
Yeah, I think this is looking like the beginnings of either Twin Terror if you get it on 3-2, or the 6 Executioner comp as well. We've got the Amumu, we've got the Pantheon. We've basically got all the pieces here, waiting for a headliner. As we can see, we haven't bought one yet. 4-5 streak, still a little bit poor, because we're holding a lot of expensive units. We got the 2-star Vex, but you know, it's looking like a pretty good setup so far.
I do like that Sammy's managed to keep a board that's strong enough to get a couple of units away while still keeping the streak in place. You know, as we were talking about before, Dry, being able to keep that streak going is very, very important, but also your HP is going to matter a lot, as it's not going to be Twin Terror unless we see some rerolls here from Sammy.
Yeah, we rolls into binary on the first. Seems to be mulling over whether it's worth or not to try and really force for this. Shop trick there.
I'm very surprised actually at the Buried Treasures take. I think it's a great augment when you're playing this Executioner line, but binary is also a great augment. I think I would take binary any day.
Yeah, getting 2 items on 3 or 4 carries and then just making them all books in general. Skipping past a Heart Steel Cassante really does hurt me. I was really hoping somebody at least would force this quite early on. But I guess it's a bit too late to hope for that one on this game.
Well, Stormy, that's our resident Executioner expert, which is definitely a very strange thing to say. You mentioned you weren't so much a fan of the Buried Treasures. Based on the setup we've got here, we've got the ingredients. We've got a big loss streak, so at least not money coming in. Level 6, not a lot of gold in the bank, and with these augments, where are you anticipating Sammy finishing this one out if the 6 Executioner is the line which is being pursued?
I think given we've got the Frequent Flyer as the first augment pick, although the economy's a little bit low right now, it makes all of your rolls 1 gold after 8 rolls, so you're getting double value from all your gold. So being a little bit on the lower economy side is fine. I think we need to stabilize in stage 3, and if we do manage to do that, then it can look really good, because as soon as this comp gets online, it's really hard to lose rounds with it. And very close, like an Amumu 2 and maybe a Samira 2, and I think we're sitting pretty.
Alright, well so far so decently done. Let's keep on checking out what else is going on in this lobby. So we've got someone with a very similar approach, Monochrome. He's managed to pick up a Lucky Blade, a Gambler's Blade from the beginning. And has also been running something of a lost streak, but looks like where they're headed long term might be, I say might be somewhere different. We have got a Twitch with an Infinity Edge, and we've got Dual Lotus in play, so wherever it's going to end up, we're going to involve at least some amount of Critical Strike.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Dual Lotus 3 as well, which means that the carries will only need that one main crit item to give them 100% chance, which makes it a lot easier for them to itemize. It means you can sort of focus on having multiple carry points. Obviously, most of them, well, 3 of the Executioners prefer IE over JG, but if you manage to force all 6, then having that JG component on the bench as well means that you're guaranteeing 100% on the Vex, on the Karthus, regardless. Just means that you're allowed to go for more utility items in your second and third slots if you get there.
Yeah, I think Jeweled Lotus 3 is just such an insane augment. It fits into basically any composition as well. It looks like we're pretty open in terms of items, so be interesting to see where this board ends up. Probably on stage 4 when we do a roll down.
So checking back in as we come to the carousel as to where everybody is. I believe Sammy has kept their loss streak going, but Chushnanchi has kept her win streak going all the way close to clearing 2 full rounds of TFT, which is pretty amazing. Just below Henk and Levin and Believer, we've got a decent amount of players who are on a solid amount of HP. It's really when we look towards those bottom 3 when things start to look a little bit more shaky.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, with this contest going on for multiple members in the lobby for the Executioners, you have to sort of worry when you're on the lower side of the leaderboard. Econ not great, HP really low as well for Sammy, meaning that it's just looking a bit dangerous, right? You haven't really hit a headliner that you're looking for. You've 2-starred a couple of your units, and you have the binary, so once you start hitting and once you start getting items on everyone, it's going to sort of spike incredibly fast all in one. But you're playing against another Executioner comp, which is just in a better spot than you right now. It feels like you're going to have to start forcing way harder to actually stay in the game.
So we can see Sapichiro here took the double defunct 2-1, so we're committed disco from the beginning. Got the wellness trust in, so they're making a lot of money and sort of just sitting until stage 4 here. It looks like we're a little bit low on health, but with the wellness trust, I think we should be fine. And plenty of gold for the roll down, and already has 1 TF online, so if we can get another TF, this board's going to spike really hard in stage 4 and start winning rounds.
Yeah, once Sapichiro does start winning those rounds, the metabolic accelerator effect is really going to kick in and help push them out of the lower bands. Majestic Wallaby is starting to drop down a little bit on HP as Chushnanchi has lost her win streak heading into Wolves, so it won't be a full 2-stage setup rather. Believer though has picked up the reins where Chushnanchi has left off to put together a win streak of their own. So interested to see if they can keep that going, and as you said before, really extend that win streak to get the worthwhile money out of it.
Yeah, and as Safi was, as Stormy was saying, Safi here, not in the strongest board state as well. So once they, swap out that Nami for a better headliner, once the items are moved on to their main carries, so obviously Nami holding onto the tier, onto the JG, onto the Hexblade right now, then you're going to start seeing much more damage coming out from the TF. And even winning rounds now means that they'll just be able to heal up, hold onto that wellness trust gold, that wellness trust HP, and stay sort of contesting. So once they start hitting those TFs, once the items get swapped over, once the later stages hit and they hit the 2 disco balls so the whole map is covered, this could be a really strong comp.
I think we got a bit of your favorite comp going on here, DrySalad. We've got the Heartsteel Spat Slam, we've got the Heartsteel Cassante. Maybe we're on track for the 10 Heartsteel here.
Only 2 more spots.
Alright, Dry, you are a heart doctor, a love doctor, we could say here. Diagnose how good is B's setup here, because like with the disco setup before, we are committed into playing at least some amount of Heartsteel for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, look, in my little low experience, this is not a variation of Heartsteel that I've seen very often. So the triple EDM 2 rapid fire, it's quite interesting. I think Obviously going well with the 6-game win streak, but having that Cassante frontline, obviously such a strong 1-cost unit, keeping him in as the headliner right now, just to have that 2-star. With the Dragon's Claw, obviously not everyone's favorite item, but the max HP regen, and with a lot of AP carries in the lobby right now, is quite helpful. I will say, it's looking a bit late for them to get 2 more Heartsteel spats, as well as then hitting level 9, but I remain quietly hopeful, because I've seen some crazy things happen in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. You could get that Heartsteel cash out. It can give you a tome, you know, and then one more maybe. We're win streaking, so at least we're healthy here.
Yeah.
I actually really like this. A lot of people put Heartsteel in, and they're like, oh, I need to lose rounds straight away. But the Heartsteel value scales as you get further into game as well. So if you can preserve HP early game and then start losing, you can get even bigger and bigger cash outs and, you know, really go for that first.
Yeah. And obviously with Heartsteel 5, you're getting 2.5 times the actual hearts of every round. So this late in the game, you're getting, I think it's around 4 or 5 per kill. So even then, even if you're winning every round, if there's 6 or 7 people in the enemy, you're getting still quite a few hearts every round. You're getting at least 30 golds worth of a cash out, even if you're win streaking every single round. So still pretty worthwhile reward. Obviously leveling to level 8 now with the with the new recruit does have space for 9 champs, which means does have space for 10 Heartsteel. But we'll see. We'll see how the RNG roll goes on.
Just for clarification for anyone who wasn't watching at the beginning, DrySalad has offered a secret reward for running 10 Heartsteel in the game. I don't know if that's what Believe It is going for here, or even if the opportunity will be presented to it. But I mean, a 7-round win streak is very impressive. Going up against Leave-In here to keep that streak intact, and I have to think at some point, and I think this might be the point, the lack of combat power from the Heartsteel trait is going to eventually cause the loss to come in. But and with the both of you, keeping this much HP up until this point means that Believer's got a good amount of runway to get as much Heartsteel value as possible.
Yeah, I mean, he's got so much to play with here. I will admit, I'll be completely candid with you guys. I don't know what the reward is yet, but I'll come up with something fantastic about this happen. It was more so a bit of a throwaway comment because I was hoping that nobody was actually going to be able to hit it. If it does happen, it'll be rewarded in kind.
Okay, so keep your expectations low is what I'm saying. A believer has clarified in the chat for us that they are in fact are not trying for Heartsteel 10. So there we go. We put that one to bed early.
I mean, I could slip a quick little £5 into their pocket, see what happens, see what we can, see if we can convince them otherwise.
Let's head across to Monochrome because they are in some pretty serious trouble. Looks like they've tried to put together a crowd diver board and have found some pretty decent stuff, but HP wise, they've run this loss streak as far as it can go, down to 9 HP. I think get through this round, but I'm not even sure of that anymore.
Yeah, it looks like we're going for the Yone 3. Just missing the headliner. Got 6 Yones, and all we need is a headliner. It's the worst feeling ever when all you're looking for is that headliner and you just can't hit it. If the Yone 3 comes online, it could still be, you know, a win out. I've seen it before where, you know, players on 1 life can hit that Yone 3 and just never lose a round ever again. But, you know, we've got no economy to work with, and it's looking like a really rough spot.
Oh, I'm assuming Ace is monochrome, because they've typed in the chat, I whiffed everything. But hey, you know, you just gotta believe real hard. I'm disappointed there wasn't a Kiana on this carousel to really save monochrome from the edge here, but I guess we'll see what happens on the final rolls.
No Yone. No nothing, no anything, no happiness, no enjoyment, no feelings of any sort of elation at all. Yeah, just has to throw items onto that Zed right now. A little bit of a last stand here, trying to make anything happen. Rolled down about 8 times, didn't find that Yone headliner. Obviously it is harder when you have 6 of them, but it still feels really bad because, you know, the difference between 2-star and 3-star Yones are so monumental in this comp. And once you hit that, you know, crowd diver for so much more damage. And just feels bad to see.
Oh, so Ace is Safachiro. So Safachiro is also in a rough spot on 16 HP. So we're checking in with them in a minute to see how they're doing. We've still got the 3 players down to barely alive. As Monochrome does make it through that last round. So we're getting close to the end of stage 4. I presume, well, at least one of these two will be out by the time we get through and to PvE.
Yeah, we got Safachiro here looking for the TF comp. We said, if this gets online, we already had 1 TF back in stage 3. It looks like we've only got 2 TFs now, so we didn't even manage to find that.
Ooh.
Do you take that Blitz headliner here?
Oh, you definitely take this Blitz if you can. It's quite expensive.
Yeah, they're trying to find a way to sell for it. They don't know what to say.
Oh.
Okay, there we go.
Barely.
Ooh, has to get those items down as well, though. We'll get that Heartsteel and Warmugs on the Blitz, I guess. And carry items on the TF. It's a bit sad that TF is only 1 star, but just have the Ziggs as well with Ginsu's on it, pumping as much as it can.
Akali's going to be a little bit of a pain to deal with, but I think the Hextech Gunblade will keep the Ziggs up for long enough for the Silver Ascension to kick in. I don't think Safachiro is going to be changed from losing out here. I suppose at least you can hit your unit and will actually keep Safachiro from going in 8th because Monochrome goes out in 8th while Safachiro hits 7th.
Yeah, I mean, just that 1 HP difference must feel really, really bad if you're Monochrome here. But yeah, Safi didn't hit the 2-star TF and, had okay items on them and just the Ginsu's on the Ziggs, but all the champions were 1 stars and the Blitz crank, once it died, there was pretty much no frontline either, so it was just no way to win that round. It was just damage control to make sure they didn't come in last place.
Yeah, there just wasn't quite enough damage to finish off this 7 KDA board that we've got here. So this was the Idealism start, which was win streaking all the way through stage 2 and 3. We've transitioned into this KDA board, which is very interesting. We've seen a little bit of this sort of pop up recently. We've got 2 Hand of Justices here, 1 for Akali, 1 for Ari, giving that bonus damage as well. And it's looking pretty strong here. KDA gives you loads of stats. It just makes your whole board tankier and stronger. So it's a really good comp to stabilize on, and it looks like we're gonna try and go to level 9 here as well and maybe get some legendaries.
Oh, it pained me to see that headliner Twisted Fate coming through Chush and Anshi's shop where she can just be like, I don't want that in the game with you. As jealously Monochrome looks on from the sidelines. But I think this is one of the reasons, Henk, why it was so hard to hit those Disco 2 stars is because, like nearly every lobby nowadays, the Disco is heavily contested.
Yeah, and I mean, you could argue the same for KDA, obviously falling a bit out of favor since the patch changes a couple weeks ago. But KDA, once you hit that 7, is still such a strong line to run. I think Headliner Ari is not necessarily the most favored anymore just because people don't love Rabadons. But you'll take whichever KDA Headliner you get, right, of the Nico, Akali, Ari bunch. As well as that, it's probably the easiest 10 to hit in the game. I don't know about you guys, but I've hit KDA 10 like more times than I think is okay. There was a little period where like within 2 weeks I hit KDA 10 like 6 times, and I wasn't even forcing it. It was just like I was playing the game, I held onto an Evelyn just in case, just for the eventuality that I get the spats, and I did, and I got 2 spats. I got the headliner, and then bang, KDA 10, and it's perfect as well because you get the KDA spats on Echo and Cannon, which means they both activate the true damage buff as well, so you can chuck your tank items onto Nico if you get strong enough, and yeah, KDA 10.
It being a craftable spat makes it a lot easier to hit, and it's such a strong trait as well. I think it was nerfed in the most recent patch as well, but it's still, game-winningly strong, being a prismatic trait.
Yeah.
And especially, if we manage to get it online on this board, we've got the Lucky Gloves as the second augment here, so we've got items on pretty much everyone here. This is actually a crazy strong board with all of these items going on.
Yeah.
Alright, looking pretty good for Chush Nancy. She was win streaking before, but has settled into a an upper echelon. We've got a big separation between our top 3 and our bottom 3. Sammy down on 8 HP, we believe, are just above on 17. Levin's looking pretty good here with the Disco ball that did hit, and the 3-star Lux in place. So again, Dry, as our expert on the Disco ball, or Disco variations, what do you think of this Lux focus rather than the TF focus.
Yeah, so this is what we call the cringe dazzler comp, where you decide to go for Lux carry instead, because no, I mean it's a good adaptation. Obviously, hitting the 4 dazzler with the Lux, the Lux dazzler headliner is really strong. Has 3 very good items on her as well. I think the Spoils of War helped out quite a lot this late into the game. Hitting that much loot over the course of the game has meant that you're looking at tank items on everyone. That along with the loaded carousels, just making it so easier to hit all of your items. And as well as that, 1 away from 3-starring Jax, which won't change much except there's just more sort of tanking power for the Lux and a stronger extra Lux ult in there. But sitting on EDM 3 as well, so not really not committing too much to that line, just focusing on the Lux as the main carry with the Dazzler. 4 Dazzler just so much stronger than 2. It's nice to have that extra buff in.
Yeah, this is some forbidden tech that's been rising up. Actually, is the Bruiser Lux comp. So we can see here we've got the 3-star Gragas as well. So we've got this really tanky front line with the synergy with Zac being an EDM unit as well. I think we'd prefer to have 4 EDM, but having the 4 Dazzler is still really strong as well. And we've also got this Jax hold up in the corner. So when we hit that Jax 3, he'll be stuck in the corner, but he'll still be shooting those laser beams out, which is really fun to see. So I think this board's looking really strong, and we might be taking a top 2 from this spot.
Yeah, well, I mean, Levin is one of the players who've been around for a very, very long time in the casual competition, and nearly always has put out some very strong showings. Let's see how they do up against the Majestic Wallaby, who, interesting enough, I don't know if that's a visual bug or if they just don't have backline items for the competition. I presume that they do, but I don't think it's going to be good enough to punch through. The front line, as you mentioned before, with the 4 Bruiser in place, is very, very beefy. And the MF, just gets disintegrated before the damage lands where it needs to.
Yeah, and that Jack's literally just a stationary Lux ult at this point. Not really a part of the comp to be a unit in itself, but just gives that ADM 3, which means more effectiveness on the Lux ult, which means an extra Lux ult that you're throwing in as well on top of the Zac. So the more cast you get of that, just the more likely you are to nuke that backline. And we did see there were actually items on the carries. It was just a little visual bug, but not enough to stop those twin beams coming out from the Lux Jax ult onto the MF.
I think it's maybe looking at decent up the top of the table for Levin, for Believer. Currently battling to get into top 4. Does have an awful lot of units on the board. We'll see how those individual units end up doing. We've got double Tack Crown, so there's certainly enough bodies to go around.
Yeah, I mean 12 champs on the board, but like none of them are really in the craziest spot right now. Just 1-star Ezreal, 2-star Zac, 1-star Ilaoi, so all still could be so much stronger. If you start hitting those 2 stars of the 5 costs and of the 4 costs, it would help the board so much. This large Ezreal cast should be enough to clean out the board though, as we go through.
I think something really scary to keep an eye on there is we've got 7 Zeds and we've got a duplicator.
Yeah.
So we're really looking for that Z3 here. I'm not sure if anyone's caught onto that yet, but we're getting really close, and that could be the thing that just tips the comp over the edge. With so many units and not many 2-stars, we kind of need that really big spike to carry this board going forward.
Oh, I'm with you there. It makes a lot of sense. We've got some pretty good itemization right now for the Ezreal, blue buff, red buff. Very traditional setup. In terms of frontline, our items are a little bit low, and I think Ilaoi's doing a bit of work there. Especially if you can get up to 2-star to prop that up and just buy a little bit more time. It does feel like Believer, while currently in 4th place, Chushinanchi just above, has got the potential here to go off big, just given a few more rounds to work with.
Yeah, like we mentioned, obviously, forcing that Z3.
That's a shot.
Jesus. Well, no Z3 yet, but the 2-star gen, lovely, with that blue buff on them as well, means that those rifles are coming in so much earlier, so much faster. Giant Slayer as well now, just a lot more damage. Obviously, the attack speed converting into damage as well. Gets the other 2 items back onto the Ezreal. 2 best in slot items there, which are quite nice. Obviously, the annoying part is that they have to have 2 Zeds on the board, because one is for the headliner, one has the items on it. And hitting that extra Zed right now would be just such a disgusting power spike, probably guarantee 1st place.
Yeah, I think it's interesting we've still got the 5 hearts still in. I'd definitely be open to to dropping out of that. I think we need the board strength right now from just playing some better units. Like we've got this Yorikin shop, this Thresh shop as well. But if we get one more cash out, maybe we get another duplicator, and then the Z3's online straight away.
Yeah, this gen now though with the multi-rifles on the bench absolutely beaming down those carriers.
To touch back on some of what you're saying though, with the keeping the heart still in, it feels like Believer is, as Josh Nancy actually goes out there, it feels like Believer is fishing for a first in this game, rather than just, taking a less risky option of just putting board power out immediately.
Yeah, it's definitely playing on the edge here, looking for that first. Believer's playing Heartsteel, pretty much the whole game at this point. So the board strength has gone way up from having these 2 Tactician's Crowns as well, which sort of gives you the room to keep playing this 5 Heartsteel as well, because you're not necessarily dropping too many units that you would otherwise want to play in order to play this.
Good positioning, anti-Lux positioning up against, this is going to be, I believe this is Levin's Ghost board we're seeing being played against here, so you see the Lux will fire across and not do really any damage at all. Of course, Ezreal should be relatively well positioned to land shots into her in return. The front line is, I think, mostly shrugging off the damage, so for Believer, that's one step towards that first place.
Yeah, and obviously he used the Champ Duplicator just to force an Ezreal 2 to make sure they stayed alive in the game, so less... Also, that 3-star Z here sold the copy that they had on bench as well, so we'll need to hit 3 more now. Whether or not they get a dupe remains to be seen, but we are down to the last few rounds here, obviously, hopefully to make this a carousel.
Yeah, I think making the Ezreal was a really good decision here. Although Believer would really like to have that Z3, just securing the top 2 here is still really strong. So, it's going to be an uphill battle to get through 61 HP. And, at any point you might just lose one fight and be out. So just making sure you secure that top 2 here is really good.
Oh, somehow we didn't notice that Hank had a recombobulator in that game. Apparently that fully sent them into the land of confusion. But for Believer, this is the do or die round. If they can get the win here, I mean, Lehman's got a ton of HP left in the bank, but it feels like Believer is so close to building to an even stronger board. There's one carry gone. The second one is almost killed, but Lehman stays alive. But so does Lever. We are into the endgame scenario.
Yeah, I mean, that's the strength of that board right now, is having that Ezreal and Jhin duo carry on opposite sides of the board means that it's so hard for the Lux ults to calm them down. Once Ezreal got taken out, it looked like the damage dropped quite a lot, but then Jhin hitting those 8-9 rifles was just able to mow down the rest of the board and keep him alive. That front line's so strong as well with the Ilaoi and the 2-star Zac and those tanky items on them.
Holy moly, 4 Warmogs in a 6 Bruiser composition, but Believer did pick up an interesting final item. So the Bloodthirster coming in there. I wonder if this is a concession to expecting that Jhin is going to get a little clobbered here before the round's over.
Still 5 hearts still though. Not willing to relent. Just keeping that win streak going. So things will no point yet.
Believer just got another cash out. I'm not sure what it was this time. I think it was just like another component. Picked up the Bloodthirster off the carousel, which might mean that, if Jhin ever does get targeted by this Lux, he can live through a cast and maybe heal up as well. I think it's looking like Believer might take this. The board has just got so capped, so strong that Lux she doesn't have enough laser beams to kill all of this.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe this is the consequence of straying from the path of righteousness, which would normally send us down the TF route. But yeah, I really admire this from Believer. As the 2-star Ilaoi comes in, it's looking like the front line is going to be impossible to get through. And for Levin, I have to imagine not being able to find another carry to go with this Lux is going to be frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, the Infinity Edge is sitting on the Jax right now, but that is only being used to continuously fire out Lux ults, as we mentioned before, so those Lux beams just not doing enough to Believer's build. You've got the multiple carries, you've got the incredibly strong frontline, you've got so many units to hit that it's just so hard to get through that. And with Ezreal dashing away all the time, you can't hit both carries reliably. It just seems like it's going to be very hard to beat Believer in this lobby.
Yeah, the tentacles as well from that Alawi 2 just soaking up these Luxels, as we
Yeah.
can see here. Lux has casted 3 times already and only 1 tentacle's down, so we're not even getting onto the carries before most of the board is dead. And we see that in action right there, the Bloodthirster on Jhin. He manages to tank one of those casts.
Yeah.
It's looking pretty decided at this point.
All right, we've got one more time round. I mean, take a quick look at Leven's board. I want to kind of put to you both. Is there an item in here? Is there something which could come from this dragon which could change that matchup? Because it seemed like it was fairly one-sided.
Yeah, Lowy 3. Just
all right, in the dragon.
Lowy's another trick, and then we can run this. Well, I just think the Believer hitting the 2-star Lowy last round was such a massive flip as well, because now that front line is almost unbeatable. Having the 2-star tentacles in the back means that you're using like the first 3 Lux ults, as we mentioned, before you can even start looking at the carries. By which point your front line has been decimated by the Ezreal and the Jhin, and you're just left with nothing.
Yeah, I think we're looking for the set 3, which
We get.
Leven did hit. So the front line's really tanky. It's just I think there's a damage problem going on here. It doesn't matter how tanky the front line is. This Jhin and Ezreal combo with the Alawi tentacles is just not dying.
Yeah.
So the solution apparently is more Warmogs.
Yeah, as many as humanly possible. I mean, yeah, 2-star Zac and 3-star Cell on the same turn does feel nice, but it remains to be seen if that's going to be enough to tank for long enough for these Lux ults to start flying in.
Well, the interesting thing that's changed in this round is, I believe, yes, that the EDM selector has actually changed to Jax rather than Lux. So we're seeing less Lux lasers and a little bit more focus on the leaping around the base. It's actually working semi-well so far. It's something allowed it to stay alive for a little bit longer. Unfortunately, the damage isn't quite there, but I admire the attempt from Leven, even if it didn't ultimately work out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good try, but those Jhin rifles just absolutely beaming, as we mentioned before, too much to deal with. And, you know, hitting those 2-star Alawi for the front line of Believer just felt like it changed his board to be almost unkillable.
I think it's a really good adaptation to go for the Jax, because sometimes the Jax can just randomly snipe backlines when you have it on the Lux, because it gets the bonus range from the Lux and targets the highest health enemy. Unfortunately, there was so much frontline that it looked like a frontline unit was pretty much always the highest health enemy, so Lux never managed to jump into that backline and kill the Jhin. But I think the fight looked a bit closer. It looked a lot better, and you know, maybe if we had a couple more upgrades at somewhere in there as well, it could have been the thing that changed the tides there.
Alright, gentle friends, well, it brings us to an end. We'll be looking, or end for round 1 at least. We'll be looking to start things up ideally at about half past for the next round. So we'll go on break till then and see where we stand in terms of if all the lobbies are done and such. For now though, stay tuned. We'll be back soon for game 2 out of 3 today. Welcome back everyone to Counters Casual Competition. Round 2 is about to begin. Whew. Well, that first round was pretty spicy. We got a lot of the stuff which we wanted to see, right? You know, you got to see various varieties of disco in there. You know, on reflection, would you say that was a good disco game or just a decent disco game?
I'm gently happy. There was no disco mainline. That's my problem, right? The only disco main comp didn't hit headliner till their last round alive, where they hit the disco blitzcrank, which was way too late, and they lost. So we ended up having to settle for a disco lux comp, which is fine. For a first round, it's fine. Moving on, I need to see some more though.
Yeah, I think we had some kind of off meta comps going here. I think the Heartsteel win out is one of the highest cap comps in the game, where we get that big shot online, that Jin 2 really solidifying things. I think we see that a little bit. But the Lux, I haven't seen that too much recently, and I think that's a really interesting comp that's actually really quite strong. I'm surprised we didn't see any pentakill action. We didn't see anything like no Karthus at all, no Karthus Viego. So maybe in the next game we'll see some more of that.
Well, let's take a look at, if we can, some of the results from our previous round, which we didn't get to actually see on stream. So let's bang that across here in an extremely professional looking way. Sasuke Business managing to rock out at the top there with a true damage board. So that's another board which we didn't actually get to see, Stormy. Was that one you were hoping to see a lot of today?
I feel like true damage has fallen out of favor actually recently, since they nerfed true damage and they also nerfed the spatula. It was really strong last patch. We saw loads of it last patch, but as we can see here, it still can win out. It's actually still quite strong. I think people are underrating it a bit. They're like, oh, it's got nerfed, I don't want to play this comp anymore. But you know, it looks like Such Business here got to level 9, hit the 2-star 5 cost as well, and really capped out their board with the true damage spat.
Oh, sorry, let me just check this. Oh, my apologies. That's actually an old screenshot. We've still got a few of them still coming in. So, Sasuke Business was apparently also playing 6 Executions. So apologies if these are out of date. Let me just double check these as we come in. So, this is Yuki. This one's definitely from today. Of course. Oh no, my apologies. We have more than one Lux player today. So we've got ourselves a Lux 3-star, but also a 2-star Z. Spect for damage. Dry, your assessment?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting little variation of the EDM comp. I'm seeing, I think that's what I'm seeing through the pixels. Is that Spellweaver emblem?
Yes.
On our good friend Jax. So just seeing that 3 Spellweaver giving a little bit of extra AP to the Lux. Obviously the double Hodge Infinity Edge is 100% crit chance, plus just the Mega Omnivamp on the Z. Feels really nice. Now, we don't know what they used the EDM amplifier on, but it looked like they had quite a few units which were capable of carrying that game, which is probably what led to them eventually winning. Really strong frontline with the Alawi, the 2-star Zac, the 2-star Set, and the 2-star Gragas as well, so that 4 bruiser line. As well as that, managing to hit 3 disco, just to have that little bit of extra healing and attack speed coming in on the tanks, on the carries, and yeah, so many carry threats.
Yeah, I'm looking through this lineup and I'm seeing a lot of spatulas, and I'm wondering what portal we had here. Did we have the loot subscription portal? Because that's an awful lot of spatulas going on in this game.
Oh, having a quick look through some of the results that are coming in. I believe we've got a result from let's see. Oh no, it's escaped me. Apologies, but well, I believe we've got one more which is definitively from today. So this is oh no, sorry, apologies. This is from our live game from before. Looks like our screenshots are still a little bit behind. I do believe though that there was a player who was running the pentakill board from before, so it still is in existence. But I mean, I guess between the two of you, you know, we know that we're seeing a lot of disco. We're seeing some amount of Karthus. I know, Asad, you have a preference for playing disco yourself, but how do you feel like those two measure up into each other?
Well, I think Pentakill seems to be a lot more favored in the meta in general. right now. I think Disco is the kind of thing where you'll see one person go it per game, but it's not really something that's contested by the whole lobby. Pentakill feels like it has a lot more viable variations than Disco. While Disco has a lot of variations, Pentakill feels like you can go Karthus. You can even go for the 3-star Mordekaiser reroll. You can have the Viego. So you have these various routes that you can go into and have so many strong units, including the Yorick later in the game.
Yeah, I think Pentakill is a lot more open and it has a lot more win conditions than Disco. Disco, you're pretty much always playing the same board. Pentakill, especially if you get that Pentakill Spat Undyne, like we can see here on this Akali, you get the 7 Pentakill vertical, and it can be really, really strong. And because you have Akali and Karthus targeting backline, they just jump in. They can just blow up Twisted Fate and blow up Ziggs and blow up Sona before the Disco board has any time to ramp. I think on the other hand as well, though, Disco can win if they manage to get that 2-star Alawi online to soak up those Karthus casts. So it's really interesting to see how these boards can outcap each other in the late game.
Alright, I believe that our players have started now, so I'm going to try and send us to ideally see some players we haven't seen as of yet. Though I think actually, because our players are getting spread out between the lobbies, that's not going to be so possible. Table 3 looks like it has started, so we're going to jump in there, which will have, let's see, so that's going to have Chachinanchi returning from before, but also some new faces. Hank, I believe we might have talked about before this point. Pills, a very, very long-term Counters Casual competition player who has been shooting up the rankings recently. Hampus as well. So we've got a couple of streamers in there as well as Soda. But it looks like in the field overall, we're getting a decent variety of stuff being played. If we do, you both mentioned before the idea of playing into some of the portals that allow us, some deeper moves into the emblematic side of things. I think I've got a relatively good idea of what this might be already, but just, in terms of the emblems, what kind of preference would you have, starting with you, Salad? Since, we can't craft a disco emblem.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I mentioned the triple heart steel emblem before, which would bring me so much happiness. But from an actual meta standpoint, I feel like hitting KDA emblems, hitting Pentakill emblems feels really, really nice, because there's so many units which can sort of play into that and ways that you can build around that. And as well as that, we mentioned how easy KDA 10 is to hit if you do have easy access to spats, because all you need then is to hit 2 rods, and you've got that board lined out. So I think that could be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think on the spatula front as well, they added in Country Spat and took away Jazz Spat this patch.
Yeah.
And I've seen more 7 Country than I ever have before during this whole set. And that really big horse that shoots out other little horses and stuff, he can be really strong. So interesting to see if anyone goes down that 7 Country line if they get some spatulas early.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get game number 2 started then. As noted before, we've got Chachinanchi returning from game 1, Pills and Hampus as long-term players, and a few other people creeping through as well. So, Salah, coming into this one, thank you very much, Drew, for showing us that it's 3 champions. So we've got ourselves some extra bits and pieces coming in the 3-cost variety. If you're getting this portal yourself, obviously there's a lot of varieties to what you could get, but what would you be hoping for to get dropped in as that free unit?
Yeah, I mean, those first 3 units that you want to get, I really do like getting... Sorry, was it 3 1-costs or was
no, sorry, the 3
costs?
champions, the 3 1-costs.
Sorry, yeah, 3 1-costs, yeah. So for the 3
I confused myself by seeing the misfortune.
Yeah, I really prefer frontline champions usually. Things like the Tom Kench, which you can build a sort of early bruiser line into. Just because it's so tanky. I think as well, if you get like early headliners and maybe you can force a really disgustingly early 3-star, that's kind of cool, because you can hit 2 of the same champion off the 3 free champs. We saw this guy give up on, well, a possible 3-star disco. Sorry, a possible 3-star disco Taric, which would have been lovely to see. But I guess we won't be seeing that because people are scared to do anything that isn't directly helpful nowadays.
Well, let's scoot around and check what we've got going on. So from Poseidon's side of things, we've got the Bruisers coming in with a little bit of buried treasure. Chachinanchi, we've already seen already, being AFK. We've got the component anvils coming in here for Pills to get a pretty decent looking 8-bit start. Soda with a disco and with a Guardian Tarek. Gosh, what a world we live in where that's a thing. Hampus also running Disco. Kevin also running Disco. Majestic Squid on the Heartsteel. And Hank's also running Disco. So we got 4 Discos so far. So is that about the right amount?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like 2 minutes ago we said that it's not something that you see contested too often. It's usually you've got one person going for it in the lobby and knows with it. I think the fact that they've all managed to hit headliners here to get that 3 disco early is what's sort of convinced them to go down this path. I would expect to see a few people start to move out of disco, not have 4 people contesting this for the entire game.
Yeah, I think the disco opener, if you see a disco headliner, it just gives you so many stats for your board. It's that attack speed ramping up early that just makes your board really strong in the early game. So even if you're not going to end up playing disco, I think it's always a good idea to take a disco chosen, especially if you can make that 3 disco and then just play it for that strongest board early game.
It's like looking in a mirror. I guess we'll see which one of these two is brave enough to hold the line. I do kind of like the silver spoon being picked up by Hank to maybe try and leap ahead of the rest of the pack and find some, or get up to disco on the higher levels and find some of those disco units ahead of the rest of the field. Does get the win hint in here, along with, let's see, the other 2 win streaky players, Poseidon, who I think might be able to do the same. No, my apologies. It's just Kevin and Hank who keep hold of their win streaks, and are they both disco? They are. Wonderful.
Now, Counterfeit, I'm going to need you to look at Hampus real quick for me.
Yeah.
Because there's something very interesting going on here. If you look at the bottom left of your screen, that's what we call a bard carry. Which Preston slot adaptive Nash's Tooth, meaning once you get that first cast off, you get the empowered attack speed, so you're getting maximum doot efficiency. Be interesting to see how this how this scales.
There's a pun waiting to happen there.
I definitely think it's nice to have the Bard early, because when you're playing Disco, you hate to have to itemize your Nami and then sell her later, because a lot of the time you want to run her on your final board anyway. So having that early Bard to hold your TF items makes transitioning a lot easier in the late game, and actually he does do a load of damage as well, and gives you the option of maybe playing that Bard reroll, which we may or may not see.
I'm with you there. In a lobby with 4 people running Disco, finding those Namis again is definitely not a guarantee, particularly in the later game. Things looking pretty decent for Hampus as Kevin and Hank keep up their win streak. Carousel, Chushinanchi keeping the loss streak most strongly, with Pills barely behind. The rest of the field pretty much spreading between. So we'll keep our Disco count topped up. See, so currently we've still got the 2, 3, 4. I was just trying to be spicy and seeing if we'd ended up with 5 by the time we got to Carousel, but no, still the 4 Disco players for the time being.
Yeah, for week 71 we can get a little disco counter top left. Every time a disco champion is purchased, it goes up by 1.
Oh
Ooh.
Boy.
That's the Corky 3-star angle.
That's a lot of Corkies, yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. I think maybe they were hoping that to get the 8-bit headliner, that's why they were kind of hesitating so long, because they could have had instant 4 8-bit here with the Garen and the Riven already purchased. But we'll just settle for the Big Short as well. Does get that trait active now.
Yeah, I think with the Titans Resolve here, we're not really looking for that Corki.
Yeah.
And it looks like maybe Pills is thinking about playing Riven. The Titans is on the Riven. We've got an Even Shroud on bench as well, which is also a really good item to have in that Riven comp. So it'll be interesting to see where this ends up with the component buffet as well, to make perfect items later on in the game.
so Belief is in the chat saying, why can I be in this lobby? We were free first. I think that actually is a pretty good point here. So with the 4 Disco players, we know that, for the most part, all of them are going to end up being a lot slower out of the blocks than they could have been otherwise. I mean, we are in a bit of an extreme scenario here where Kevin has managed to keep a win streak going, and I think Hank doesn't quite manage to do the same. But even with a 4-way contest, the early Disco boards apparently aren't being affected that badly.
Yeah, even early game, when you have that Nami too as well, she's really good at just killing units. So even if you lose fights, you're not usually losing by much HP. I think when we had a quick flick through, we could see that all the disco boards were the healthiest ones. Even if they'd lost rounds, they were still the ones that were sort of up there on HP.
Surely you're just taking that early Z now and rotating as fast as humanly possible. Trying to find a way out of the disco comp that you forced yourself into.
You're right. So just to touch back on what Stormy was saying, out of the 5 currently top HP players, 4 of them are disco. So, oof. I mean, I suppose it feels like maybe the ideal scenario here is exactly as you said, Salad, to use the disco for the early game, get through stage 2, and then switch to something else.
Yeah, I do think so, and I think taking those opportunities that you can to sort of start building a comp that you can rotate into, so when you get those early 4 costs, early 5 costs, that can sort of start to manipulate your board. I think, like I said, seeing that said, I said that half jokingly, but that could have been an interesting thing to maybe start thinking about moving into, just so that you have something that's uncontested.
Chusanachi here is really rich. We saw that she had the gold opener, making 20 on 2-1 into the AFK, which gives you another 18 gold on 2-5, and now sitting at level 6, 50 gold on Krugs is insane. So the board strength is not quite there yet, but hopefully we'll start seeing those headliners come in. Now we've got the opportunity for the 3-cost headliners. Maybe the board spikes pretty hard here, and Chusanachi can win out stage 3.
Well, we've had the changes to Jazz, with the Jazz emblem no longer being craftable, but with Jazz itself getting an overall buff and Lucian becoming a playable unit. I mean, I might be about to eat my words here, because Chusanachi seems like she's thinking about making a fairly dramatic change in trajectory.
Yeah, I was half expecting this EDM Jax to just get slammed down. I mean, the items are sort of almost in a place where they can be very good. For that comp to be lined up, would give you instant EDM 4 as well, so you'd be casting like crazy early on in the game, and you could still sell the Jax later on and rotate out of it. Just have it in for some extra board strength right now, but not looking to spec into that just yet.
Yeah, I think, although it'd be the strongest board here, I think Chusanachi's, pumping those levels, looking to hit level 7 next turn and maybe roll a little bit, and hit some, really strong 3 costs to go on their board and win out from there. Managed to get the 2 streak as well, which is really good. Yeah. Setting up early for that 5 streak to come in for the rest of the stage. And being this rich is like such a massive advantage.
So Chusanachi taking the win against Pills, who is the other player I think who's trying to move into that, or keep occupying that lost streaking territory. Silver Augment coming in. So let's pop back up to the top of the lobby then, and see what Kevin's been up to, or he's going to be up to. Has the possibility of picking up late game specialists here. We know that disco boards do love that very late game focus, but instead going to be going for the harm assist to try and keep the streak rolling.
Yeah, harm assist taken by a couple of people in the lobby already. We saw that on a few boards so far. I think just one of the stronger silver augments, and also one of the stronger level 1 augments in terms of the ones that scale level 1, 2, 3, just because you're not getting insane amounts more for the golden prismatic versions, but having that extra Omnivamp and Julian fights will just feel nice.
I am sad to see the late game specialist not being picked there. I think when you're 100 streaking, you're super rich, strong board, getting to that 9 early can be a really big advantage, especially when you're playing disco. Those 5 costs really help you cap out your board. But I definitely understand it. It's a risky move. You want to keep your streak up, so you want to pick that combat power right now, and see how this stage 3 plays out.
Yeah, it's a little tight here, and yeah, imagine maybe... Okay, so it won't be the difference with Augment, it will be having even chosen the combat Augment, still taking the L. I'm with you there that, at some point Kevin was going to start dropping off in power, so I would have liked the late game as well, but hey, I mean, Kevin's up at the top at the moment. Hampus will leapfrog into first place, though, as, hey, they call him a prophet. The salad leaves were read correctly. It will be Bard carry, at least for now.
There's something so cathartic about looking at that guy, and I don't know. Such a nicely designed champion. The way that he sat on that board, his little hat on, ready to start spewing out dudes all over the board. The 4 Dazzler hit now as well with that headliner just makes it so that each dude is doing that extra bonus burn damage, which feels so nice.
Yeah, I think we're probably not going to see the Bard reroll here. It's probably going to be a transition into Twisted Fate later on. But Bard is definitely really strong on stage 3. And with that 4 Dazzler, he's, unfortunately losing around here actually, which is very surprising. But, still a really good loss, only losing by 1 unit. So we're definitely going to preserve plenty of HP during this stage.
I'd have to imagine that wasn't necessarily what Pills had in mind either, though. It looks like Pills has turned the corner from being on a loss streak before to now having a very small beginnings of a win streak. Again, remembering we're not getting any gold benefit prior to that. So do you see a bit of a fight over the sword to start us off with? No one is unblemished at this point. So after this carousel, we'll do a quick rip round and check where everybody is. Last time, of course, remember we were... Actually, we can do this at this point. We can check the disco count. So, Hampus, I think we can still call that a disco board.
This is good board.
Hank on the Spellweaver. Okay. Actually, so disco is not in the... So we've got disco down here for Soda. We've actually got 2 disco boards. Maybe 3 if we're at a push remaining. So people are starting to transition away from here.
Yeah, and I think with those 2 first silver augments as well, we're going to see definitely something very impactful coming in after the Wolf round now. People's comps are being more set in stone. Seems we're only going to get 2 people really looking to actually have a disco line, which obviously was what we sort of expected from the start anyway.
Yeah, we've got Henk here actually with not quite twin Terra Lulu, but we do have 2 Lulus on board. I've seen Lulu rerolls happen as well. Maybe he's thinking about that, but at the same time could also just be leaning into an item holder that will go into Twisted Fate again eventually. Maybe we'll get back to disco. It could also be the Seraphine reroll. I've seen that happen a few times as well. And we've got 3 already.
And over on the other side from DrySalad, there's some Seraphines as well. So there's definitely a thread of Seraphine that's creeping through here. Let's actually go and take a quick look and see how developed that is. So, Oh, no, I think the spectator's bugging out. There we go. So, okay, so we've got the beginnings of something KDA here. Poseidon doesn't necessarily have the perfect traditional items for the Seraphine setup, but has the units at least.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, Stormy, because obviously you're a more experienced player than I am, but the positioning here seems a little bit funky. Obviously, the slight opening on the right side does leave those carriers a bit more vulnerable depending on who you're facing up against, but maybe you have more insight into that than I do.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit awkward. Early game, you can tend to skew to one side and make sure your tanks are like right in front of their carries, but as we're getting a bit later on the game, people get more units on their board. That Seraphine's going to get wrapped on, and it might be a bit problematic. The spot looked a little bit scary. We didn't have very much gold, but 6 Seraphines, so maybe we'll see the Seraphine free come through, and Poseidon will start winning out rounds.
Apologies, sir. It looks like the I think the spectator's normally supposed to follow someone when they go through a portal, but didn't happen that time, so we sort of lost track of where Poseidon ended up. We can at least see that the lost streak remains intact, but Majestic Squid, again, another player with a great name, has decided to go the road most risky. A full 8 streak and Heartsteel 5 in play as well. This could be a massive turning point stage 4 for Majestic Squid, or it could be very easily going out in flames.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love to see the Heartsteel board in action, this is one of those really dangerous moments where you have to be able to capitalize on whatever this cash-in is very, very quickly. Not much room for error here. Does hit that 2-star Mordekaiser, which will enable him a little bit more time, and it doesn't have the worst front line either. You're looking at the Thresh and the Mordekaiser and the 3 Heartsteel frontline champions, so does have options to maneuver into other compositions, and it has that Pentacle Viego now.
Yeah, it looks like Majestic Squid's going for the roll down here, knowing that his board is just not strong enough to survive here. Keeping in some Heartsteel, so we're still going to get that cash out. But at this point, when you're 25 HP, you really need to stop losing rounds, stop bleeding out, so you can even get to that cash out, and then hopefully spike from there. The allow is a big hit here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big... the thing which jumped out at me was Majestic Squid rolled past a headliner Blitzcrank. which I was really shocked by. But they must have something very specific in mind, as they will get the win there. So the board is at least somewhat strong, but I think 4 Heartsteel sort of betrays that we are in a transitionary period towards strongest board.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Blitzcrank, but there were quite a few strong headliners that looked like they were skipped over. I mean, the Pentakill Viego, when you had Mordekaiser on the board, could have been a nice little spike. I guess not the best items for that Viego, but just something to look out for. So obviously, as you said, something very clear in mind. Heartsteel actually on the bench now as well. I would take it, but I'm a special case. There we go.
Yeah, I definitely think even getting that 2-star Ezreal online here is a really big power spike. So even though it's not big shot, which you'd probably prefer in this at this point, it's still going to help stabilize during this stage, and then at some point maybe we can look to transition off it again.
Do you think, Stormy, that the front line is so necessary that you don't just sell that MF, buy an Aphelios here and chuck it in for that set just to get 5 Heartsteel?
I mean, I definitely think playing the 5 Heartsteel, I'm not sure how long we've got until the cash out. It's not shaking and glowing yet, so still a couple of rounds. Oh no, it is one more round just as
I think the spectator's gone is a bit weird.
But then yeah, I'd love to just put the Aphelios in just for now. Get that slightly bigger cash out. You kind of need it when you're on this HP. You need as much power as you can get, after this cash out, because you don't really want to be going for more cash outs.
Alright, well, let's see. So that's going to be around 17 goals worth of stuff. We'll see what that ends up being. Because Poseidon and Kevin start to drop down. Kevin, of course, was doing very well before. I can't imagine there's a world in which Majestic decides to raise the stakes here. But there we go. Alright, so we've got a Lucian in place as well. So we've got Jazz online. But we potentially could be bringing in a Caitlyn longer term to get everybody rocking up in the back line. But things seem to be turning around quite well from Squid.
Yeah, and I think it's good that they were able to stabilize this a bit earlier. 25 HP means they have a couple of losses left in them, so it's not going to be them just spiraling out of control.
Yeah, this Lucian is a really big hit, actually. We get the Jazz online, and Lucian got buffed this patch. They fixed the bug where he doesn't scale with attack speed, and he's actually a really strong unit now as well. So if we can get a couple of items onto him, we've got the Shiv on there, which he's actually quite good at spreading as well, just for that bit of extra damage. But if Lucian manages to get one more item, we've got this sort of duo carry setup going, and actually Majestic Squid might be looking to stabilize here and then, pushing for that win.
Let's check in with Poseidon, who just lost that previous round. We were wondering what was going on here. It looks like it's a Seraphine comp, though. Seraphine seemingly left in the shop there, so maybe something else is coming in longer term. We've got a Spatula coming in out of the carousel, so maybe that will allow someone back in. Majestic will be the one to pick it up, presumably. At this point, are we going for a Heartsteel Spatula? Surely not. Surely not.
I mean, it would be able to at least just land them on Heartsteel 5 while they think about strengthening their board a bit more. It's about whether or not you want to give up that Giant's Belt, which could become a more powerful tank item.
I think a Heartsteel Spat at this point in the game would be pretty risky. I'm not sure, what he's playing for here, but sometimes you can get spats from your Heartsteel cash out as well, and you can make a Tactician's Crown later on down the line. So just keeping his options open, and also I think denying that spat from anyone else to make sure that they don't get any stronger is actually a pretty good move here as well.
Alright, so Squid takes the bullet with Chushinanchi. We'll pull back on Squid in a second, just check what Chushinanchi's up to, because she did turn things around pretty well from a little bit of a shaky start to have a pretty impressive looking country board here. We don't have the Spatula, which of course would have helped Chushinanchi hit country 7. But in terms of the units and setup, it's all looking pretty good.
Yeah, I mean this nice little country executioner comp has that 5 country already. So that stronger version of the Hecarim doing so much. Combat has the 2 lovely items on the Vex and on the Samira as well, but it looks like Akali might be strong enough here to just clean out the rest of the members. We need to see if that BT is enough healing to keep the Urgot alive. And the Hecarim also not falling down yet. Yeah.
Just enough to get over the line there. I think with the 3 to crowd as well, that's probably what pushed Chushinanchi to commit to this country comp. Gives so much HP for your whole board when you've got Samira, Amumu, Vex, Urgot, and Set. That's 5 different champions all giving you that HP. It's been nerfed, I think, 3 times now, and it's still really strong. And the gold situation here with the 10 streak as well is looking really good. So I think she's, looking to hit these 3 stars soon and push for that win as well. We know that Country is really strong once she hits those 3 stars.
Well, this is one of the compositions that it shouldn't do as well against. The Karthus board able to reach out and knock down Samira relatively quickly. She's going to have to rely on that Omni Vamp you mentioned before, Dry, to be able to stay up, but I don't think she gets across the halfway point. Fortunately, the front line dies before the second cast comes in and sweeps the board.
Yeah, I mean, Samira would have died, obviously, to a second Karthus ult, but just not quite strong enough that board yet. This wrapped around could be quite big for this comp as well, as we see 2-star Urgot and an extra Samira being hit. Because if you can get that Giant Slayer now, you just need the BF Sword, or if you can get a third item onto the Vex, or even the Titans onto the Urgot, there's so many options here for strong itemization.
Yeah, it looks like we're 1 off the Vex 3 as well. We've got 6 Urgots, we've got 4 Mumus and 5 Samiras, so 50 gold still as well. The 11 streak making tons of money. I think Chusnachi is really happy with this spot, and I think I'd be very surprised if we didn't see pretty much the whole board being 3-starred here.
Yeah, the money in the bank for Chusnachi is really good. Her economic discipline has been fantastic. I'm sure buoyed up a lot by having, of course, this massive of a win streak. I think she looks like she's going to pump the more money in. There's the 3-star landing on the headliner. So Urgot's online at full power, which makes our horsey friend even stronger. We've even got room to throw in a Yorick as well.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, that Yorick coming in obviously doesn't activate any of the traits, but does get the buff from the Guardian and the Marsha traits, so just so much more power in that extra unit. Obviously leveled up to make space to keep buying for those 3 stars, but that 3-star Urgot now, with the red buff attached, does look really powerful.
Yeah, it's a shame that she wasn't able to finish the Vex and the Samira items. So we've got a binary airdrop situation going on here without binary airdrop. But given she's so healthy and we've got the Carousel and Dragon coming up, hopefully she'll be able to pick up 3rd items for all of those carries and be super strong once you get all of those online.
Jika, thank you so much for the gifted stuff. That was extremely kind of you. For Poseidon, things are looking very cold indeed. It's been knocked out in 8th place. Kevin, just above with that pentakill board. Stormy, I know you wanted to see more pentakill on stream. We've got the wish here. I mean, is this going to be good enough to pull Kevin out of a bot 4?
I think this is looking a bit scary here. We've got the Maud 2 online. We've, only got the Viego 1 and the Akali 1, which, is not really great. I think Kevin, is really looking for one of these 2 stars. And, whichever one you hit first, you sort of commit to. At the moment, the items are on the Akali. She's synergizing with Karthus, and it looks like he'll probably take a win here, which he really needs to stabilize. He's just praying to hit any of these upgrades, really. And then if he can get these upgrades, I think we're in for a chance of maybe scraping by top 4. But yeah, it's a pretty rough situation at the moment.
Alright, let's zoom around a little bit and check in on everybody else. So we saw Hank losing out there with the Lulu Ball from before. Majestic Squid with the Heartsteel is still up and feeling pretty good. I'm 51 gold at this point, so could spend very soon to move up and throw in a little bit more power. Pills on the 8-bit Edgelord ball from before. Riven focused and close to 7 Edgelord, no, not quite there. Soda on the Disco. Hampus on the KDA. Hank on that Lily ball from before, and Chusnachi, of course, on the Country. We'll pop back down to see if Kevin makes it through this round, though, because we're seeing there's some pretty fierce competition to even make it into the top 6, let alone the top 4.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like it's going to be able to get through. This Wilderness Karthus cast will do just about enough damage to clear out the backline, but this Viego still with so much Omnivamp that Infinity Edge as well critting, but not quite enough to clear out the Akali and the Karthus, who was still sitting back at full HP. But yeah, those 2 Karthus casts were just enough to drag them through to that Carousel round.
Yeah, just managing to scrape by there. I think fighting a Ghost as well, which definitely helps. I think Pills is the Riven player. Very sad looking, 1 off the Riven 3. He's really hoping to hit that Riven 3 and actually spike and win out. But until we hit that, it's looking pretty dire. He might fall down in 7th here.
Oh boy, I mean, we'll drop him on Pills' board in a second and check what's going on, because we've got multiple players who are on very low HP. Only Chushinanchi is standing head and shoulders above the crowd HP-wise. As we do have some level 9s coming in, which is not great news for Pills, as he has to make the heartbreaking decision. Do you hold out for the Riven 3 or take the Viego 2 right now?
He sells the Carthus.
He sells the Carthus.
Alright.
I think you can't give up on that Riven 3. You really need that to win out. So I think selling the Carthus is the correct decision here, even if it means you have to play 2 Rivens on your board for a round. At this point, Pills is just trying to get any board strength going and try and win any rounds possible.
Yeah, I mean, it is so annoying because you're so close to having such a strong board. You get that Cade and you get one more Riven and your board strength almost triples. It'll be interesting to see. Doesn't look like he'll be able to survive this one with a Ezreal just pumping out a bit too much damage. Now that last Riven left is not the right Riven. That's the wrong Riven. That's the duplicate 2-star Riven there. So not enough to survive, and Pills does get knocked out early.
We know by looking at the end of that round, like, that was the difference between a 2-star and a 3-star Riven. Absolutely, like, that would have kept Pills alive for one more round, but sadly goes out in 7th place with Kevin out in 6th place, barely behind. Henk here with this fascinating Lulu board, which has now transitioned into being officially an Ahri and something of a Sona board. Does find a 2-star Alawi headliner in the shop, but won't be tempted from the path of righteousness.
Yeah, it's very tempting when you see those shiny 5-cost headliners showing up in your shop to click them, but if Henk were to sell his Ahri, then he wouldn't have any damage going on here, so I don't think that's an option, unfortunately. He's managing to win out against this Carthus board here, with this Ziggs looking like it's getting the final cast in, just about. But still, you know, sitting on 9 HP, it's a very scary situation as well. At least he's secured the top 5, but we'll see how much further he can go.
Yeah, having that Echo in the front line as well seems so useful there, just tanking the Carthus also meant that Ilawi wasn't able to actually push through on 21, and those 2 hyper pop carries in the back line were able to keep dishing out their ultimates onto the Carthus to make sure he couldn't get one final cast off.
I definitely appreciate Hank having more than one carry here, as you know, as we were talking about before. Like, just, you know, against the Carthus board in particular, that if you just had one or the other, it feels like it's so risky that they would just get sniped out by the Carthus. But at least having that secondary source of damage from the Ziggs meant that all the way to the end, Hank was still doing a decent amount of damage, even as his board started to get stripped away. Yeah,
we see the 2-star Ziggs, I'm assuming, can be purchased here. Sudden amounts of power spike there. Would be interesting if they passed up on that one. And 2-star Zone on the same turn as well, so it's a massive power spike there on this turn. Such a strong board here at level 9, so many different options for carry potential. Obviously, the front line could be stronger. The Echo's sort of the only real tank there. The Nico and Lilia sort of placebo tanks who will die out pretty quickly to most of these late game carries.
Yeah, I think he's really happy with those shops, hitting Ziggs 2 and Sona 2. He's turned Sona to the damage Sona, maybe feeling like he doesn't have quite enough damage to get through some of these front lines, especially with these tentacles that, you know, just soak up an entire Ahri ultimate. See the Sona come through. Will it be enough?
Oh,
it looks like it is quite enough.
Majestic Squid going down to 1 off of that last round. Soda and Hampus still up and fighting, but it's a already done deal, so these rounds are very close. Majestic Squid goes out barely in 5th place, leaving Hampus to enjoy a berth in top 4. So let's take a review of where we got. So Chushinanchi building towards the 3-star versions, but not quite there as of yet. Soda with the classical disco board doesn't have the, not quite lucky enough to get the Sona 2, and maybe won't get for the rest of the game, but looking decent enough. Henk with the having hit the back line, as well, the front line is maybe a little bit sparse, and Hampus has actually started to build up some front line of his own, so maybe he can survive around longer.
Yeah, and I think that 2-star Ziggs, 2-star Storm is just so huge, not only for strengthening their board, but also with how many people would probably want to contest those 2 legendaries because of how useful they are in just being support champions and supplying to the carries. Feels so nice to deny that from the rest of the lobby.
You can see here this Vex 3 finally coming online for Chusanachi. Just destroys any of these frontline comps. Like the Viego, he managed to get a couple of casts off, but not quite on the right units, and just got CC'd and died. So Chusanachi's still looking really strong, and she still has a way to go to cap out the board. We still haven't seen that Samira 3 come through. We still haven't seen that Amumu 3 come through. She's getting pretty close to all of them, and with such a big HP lead, I'd be surprised to see Henk winning out on this, although his board is really strong.
Oh boy, I mean, we've still got more itemization to maybe come in for the Sona. She is 2-star, so getting her up and firing more often off her ability would make a significant difference, but I guess it's the race to see who can get their board fully activated as quickly as possible. As you can see, the raw damage coming out of the country composition rips through that relatively small front line quite quickly. The backliners almost managed to pull it out there just by raw power, but Chusanachi will take the first place. Country Road takes us home.
Is that what we're doing today?
Yes, we're going to make that joke every time we see a country board forever. It's obligatory.
Yeah. That lobby seemed to sort of close out a lot quicker than I was expecting. There were about 4 or 5 teams left that all got wiped out within the space of 2 or 3 rounds. I think it was so nice that the country board was able to get their items off the Elder Drake and Carousel back to back there, because we saw the... I mean, we mentioned the binary airdrop joke earlier about the... you had the 3 carries, each with 2 items, which could all do with a bit more, but the Samir managed to get the Giant Slayer off the Carousel, and the Elder Drake dropped the... I think it was either Rabadon's or Jeweled Gauntlet for the Vex, which just meant that that backline was so much stronger.
Yeah, and we can see that the HP in this lobby was so close. We had Majestic Squid, who was losing HP for that Heartsteel cash out, managed to sort of stabilize, and then just took that 5th by 1 HP. And then I think for the 4th and 3rd as well, there was like 2 or 3 HP in it as well. So it was a really close lobby, other than Chusanachi sitting on top, taking that 5 loss streak in stage 2 into that 10 win streak into stage 5. Really well played game there.
Alright, so this is a lobby that is actually from the tournament and is going on at the moment. So Brayson, currently in first place with a pretty gross looking disco board here. On a scale of 1 to perfection dry, how do you feel like Bray is doing?
Well, this is one of the most standard disco boards you can see, right? I mean, if you go on tftactics.com/builds/order and then look at Disco Dazzler, this is pretty much what it tells you to go. With the 2 hyperpop and having that Ilaoi up in the front line once you hit level 9. I will say having items on the Ziggs would make this look so much nicer, but the blue buff on the Lulu does help, just constantly pumping that attack speed into her main carry TF.
Yeah, and with the double keepers here as well, giving those massive shields that we see here to the whole team, it makes it really hard to get through that front line. So it does look like Yone's cutting through here. One of those sort of counters to the Disco matchup, because you can just sort of slide right past that front line. And, we see Blitz here, the last one alive, but TF's already dead, so he's failed in his duty of protecting his backline.
Yeah. And of course, that Omnivamp on the Yone means that no matter what damage Blitzcrank outputs, he just heals it up pretty much instantly with the spellcast, and in the overtime, he's always going to win out on that one.
Thank you for the follows, Billy, Kevin, and Sirius. So we are coming close to the end of our second round here as Brayson is looking poised to go forwards. Let's see, so what an incredible name. Christ Warrior in second place does seem to have the counter composition. So guys, talk to me about this from Brayson's side of things. We've noted that the Yone does move through and hit the back line. We're seeing a little bit of positioning to start of the round. Is that what you need to do to try and stop the Yone from accessing?
Yeah, I think the Yone comp into Disco is, it's a bit of a coin flip sometimes where he dashes through, but you really want to make sure that your Twisted Fate is away from this Yone so it doesn't get swiped, and you want to make sure that the Yone, as we can see here, is focusing on this Blitzcrank, and he just gets stuck the whole fight focusing on this Blitzcrank, and that's sort of the key to victory here. So this was some really good positioning for Brayson. It's a little bit awkward when you got to move all those disco balls and you got to keep keepers in as well. And you've got these tentacles to move. There's so many moving parts for Disco, whereas the Yone comp only really has to move Yone and like the Mordekaiser or the Yorick here we see in order to sort of swap sides. So the pressure is on Brayson to keep up with the side swaps, but he's already pulled it off once here, and he only needs one more round. He's got a little bit of a buff of HP as well. I think he knows what he needs to do to win here.
And as you mentioned, there's that sort of HP barrier there where Christ Warrior has to full roll here, otherwise risk getting knocked out this round. Looking to hopefully get some of these 5 costs in. 4 costs a little bit stronger, looking for Viego 3, but just absolutely doesn't have the gold to roll for it. A bit of desperation here as the Disco Dazzler comp, with the right positioning, seems like it will be able to just take this one out. One away from the 2-star Ziggs as well.
Doesn't look like the positioning has changed very much on Brayson's side of things. Apparently Brayson's got a crowd of people who are here to see Brayson win, so hopefully that will work out that way. Warrior's got one more chance here. This time Leone does get right into the middle of the composition at least, so it is doing a significant amount of damage, so getting CC for a decent amount of it. Does stay up till the close to the end of the round, but the Twisted Fate, I think, is still... No! Almost! Oh my gosh! He does it! He Kevin Parkers it all the way to the end. Brayson will have to find a slightly better set of positioning then, because apparently that wasn't quite good enough.
Yeah.
Quick silver thrown to Viego now as well, so just bolstering that front line. And like you said, Yone was able to just get that one last cast off on the TF, but it's that simple. As soon as there's one Yone slash on the TF, the round is done.
Yeah, and farming these components with Kiana, he got 3 components this round. So he's actually getting stronger and stronger every round. And, it's possible we've got one more to go after this as well. If Brayson takes like a small loss here, more components again might be the tipping point.
Twisted Fate secreted right in the corner this time, but the Yone is directly in front of him. We'll see if he dashes in that direction or instead ends up going away. A lot of the composition is pushed to the left-hand side. Twisted Fate is keeping himself safe so far. There goes down the Yorick. Yone dances to the other side of the board, but he's coming back in and nothing's left. Brayson's going to take a loss here. It's going to be a heavy loss. And it actually kills him. What a end of game for round 2.
Yeah, 21 damage I think, and feels really bad having your opponent survive on such low HP and then getting taken out by a round like that. But congratulations, obviously, for being able to pull that one off, being able to pull off the comeback. It was a bit dodgy there at the end. Both teams sort of trying to figure out where to position to make sure that either the Yone was reaching the TF or the Yone wasn't reaching the TF. Because as soon as that slash came down, it became impossible. In the end, that front line with the 2-star Yorick, the Viego who got the QSS just became too strong to deal with.
Yeah, I think part of the issue there as well was the only anti-healing that Brayson had was on this Alawi. And as soon as this Alawi died in the front line, there was nothing to stop this Yone from just healing to full every time he does that swipe. And the TF just couldn't put out enough damage to finish him off at the end.
Alright, gentle friends, so we'll be... it looks like we finished out that round relatively quickly, so we might be back in for our final round of play a little sooner than originally anticipated, which would normally be around past. We'll be headed to break though. When we return, we'll update y'all as to where we're standing and get that final game started to see if we can find ourselves our champion here today. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go! Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Come on, everybody, bring it in. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go.
Howdy, howdy, everybody. Welcome back to Counter's Casual Competition. We are just about to get back into things once again. I'm here with my two wonderful co-casters, DrySalad and Stormy. We've had 2 games so far, 1 more to go before we crown ourselves a champion. Salad, start with you. Thoughts so far on the overall tournament? Has it been everything you'd hoped for and more?
I mean, I'm happy with how much innovation we've seen in general. I feel like we've seen people go for quite fringe comps. I know Stormy mentioned earlier, not a lot of people going for the main meta comps, and still really haven't seen some of the main comps you might expect to see with Pentakill. We've seen Pentakill adjacent comps, but not like a Pentakill comp yet. But I am very excited looking forward, because if you've been looking at Twitch chat, we've got 2 people who've confirmed that they're going to be forcing 10 Heartsteel next game. So I'll be looking out for that all around.
Yeah, the 10 Hearts still, the prospects of that, pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to see if any of those come to fruition. I think we've had 2 pretty competitive games so far. Both of them have sort of come down to the wire. And I'm not sure how the other lobby's been shaken out, but you know, it looks like people are playing a big mixture of these meta comps, as well as the ones that we're starting to show up. You know, like I said, we had last game with the Lux Bruisers, so the game before last. And then, you know, this last game being won out by Country, which has been around in the meta pretty much the whole set, but you know, we don't always see it winning out games. Usually it's sort of like a top 4.
Well, let's take a look at some of those comps from round 2, because you're saying we weren't seeing enough Pentakill. Is that enough Pentakill for you, Dry?
That's sick. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely enough Pentakill for me. 3-star Viego, fantastic. 3-star Viego, Caitlyn, TF all in the same lobby. So
Yeah.
feels really bad to hit that 3-star Caitlyn and end up 3rd place with that comp, but a little bit of Pentakill injected into my veins there, which does make me a little bit more satisfied.
Looks like an absolutely insane lobby going on there with 3-star 4 costs in the top 3, and a lot of other 3-star 3 costs below. Is that I'm seeing 2 Lulus, but I think it was a Vex comp actually in the 4th place. It's not quite Twin Terra Lulu, but maybe we'll get there. Just saying, we've got 1 game left. We might see the Twin Terra Lulu coming out. If you're listening, I'm rooting for you if you do it.
We are here to influence our players, absolutely. Let's check in with White Shroot's game, which was 1-0. There we go. Apparently, all they were waiting for was round 2 to bring out the double Pentakill spatula. I presume that's the Pentakill 10 board.
Yeah. Just like, I'm not sure if you can see the Olaf in there or not, but that's a lot of Pentakill in there, and with metal heads as well. I don't think anything else is beating that, to be fair. So that's definitely plenty of Pentakill.
Yeah, I was trying to see what the outline of that last champion was there that's getting cut off to the side. I'm assuming Olaf. But yeah, incredible board. And hitting the 2-star Kane with the BT and Edge as well. Just making him so hard to ever deal with.
Diane is confirming that was a 10 Pentakill board. Just to pop back to the previous one, Little Blonde Unicorn did confirm that those were, 4 Lulus at one point? Interesting.
4 Lulus. I mean, they all work together. They buff each other. So, it does work, but maybe 4's a bit too many. You probably do need some other units on your board.
How does the 7 Lulu Vex carry board work? Just permanent mana funnel directly into the veins of the Vex, casting every 2 seconds.
Yeah, definitely be very interesting to see the Vex just being juiced up by the Lulu.
Alright, well, let's look around. I think we've got a couple more lobbies. So you were asking for the Twin Terra composition, and it looks like we got sort of a variation on it from Ace Yugen there, which I don't think I've seen this particular approach before, where we just got, I suppose it's more the traditional punk line than, because, oh no, sorry, my mistake, I didn't even notice there's a punk element on there, so a 6 punk board that's certainly adjacent to the Twin Terra board, but a close cousin, let's say.
Yeah, the 6 punk and with the golden egg as the final prismatic, I'm assuming maybe the emblem came out of that reward, which would have been huge. Seeing somebody win with golden egg always feels nice, just because it's such a it can be such a bait augment sometimes, and just immediately lose you the game because you don't get any immediate value out of it, and everyone else is getting those prismatics. But nice to see that punk comp win.
Yeah, we got a lot of reroll going on in this lobby as well. We got the Olaf 3 down there. It looks like with the hologram as well. 2 Olaf 3s on the board. We love to see a bit of Olaf action as well. We got the Seraphine reroll down in 6th. Unfortunately, it looks like they maybe hit too late. Didn't hit the rest of their board, but yeah, a lot of interesting sort of reroll comps coming through in this lobby with the punk winning it all.
Yeah, I'm very glad to see that somebody is willing to throw out not just 1 3-star Olaf, but 2 of them instead. I mean, that's basically the entire board is just Olafs. I believe. Oh no, so this is just a duplicate of what we saw before. So I think that's brought us to the tail end of the compositions that we have from the previous round. So instead now we look towards the final lobby. So let me just see if I can pull up who we've got playing in it, and if we're really lucky, we'll actually remember some of their games, because I think it has got a few familiar names in here. So Christwar, we saw in our previous game, doing some pretty nice stuff. Blonde Unicorn was in the chat before, telling us about spamming Lulus. So, all these players you can see from our points are pretty close together. The top 2 points earners at the end of this will guarantee themselves an RP prize. Everybody else will be entered into a draw at the tail end. But, from both you guys, coming in, players like Henk who are coming in 7th place there. I think we've got one player who's cut off by the graphic there. But, coming in as a lower points player, you've got to make up, in this case, 2 points over the course of the game. Are there any particular approaches you might take to a final game like this to try and leapfrog yourself into first place?
Yeah, well, it's interesting when you think about the 2 sort of camps you could sit in, where it's either you play really safe and guarantee that you're going to get one of those top spots and get those points and hope that somebody else messes up, hope that somebody else goes for something, or you commit to something absolutely, just commit to some lunacy. Go for something which is going to guarantee you first place, but might be a bit more risky, because then you're all but ensuring the fact that you're moving up a few places in that ladder.
Yeah, I think when, it's the last game on the line, you've got to make up those 2 points. you've got to be looking for those boards that really cap out really high. You know, if you see on that first carousel, there's some spatulas, you might want to take those. If you get that early heart still in, you're probably going to want to look for that. You want to do anything you can that's going to make you cap out high enough that you can make up those 2 points, preferably with a first as well. Because I don't know if there's tiebreakers, but firsts generally help with tiebreakers as well. So you really want to make sure you get as high placement as possible in this game, and definitely avoid going bot 4, because if you do, it's probably a little bit doomed.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the ideal scenario for the other players in the lobby is that Brayson and Christ Warrior both take relatively low finishes. I mean, we've certainly in other tournaments there have been situations where there's been actually quite big separation between the top two, and you need a very specific scenario to happen. But I suppose, given that there's, you know, for a lot of the players, they only have to catch up by a single point, that there's maybe a little bit more incentive to try and just play your regular game rather than throwing all sheets to win and trying to, say, grief the top players.
Yeah, and I think if you're the top players, you have an easier job in the sense that you are happier settling for like a second place, third place, fourth place type of ending for you, where you don't really have to throw as much at this game. It's more about playing the game that you know is going to guarantee you points, and playing the game that you know is not going to end up in disaster. So you don't want to end up going on like this crazy loss streak, which could end really badly for you, and trying to flip it at the last moment, and then suddenly you end up getting only 1 or 2 points for the game, and you drop all the way down to 7th or 8th place, and you've thrown out everything you've worked for out the window. So it's about going for something more safe, which you know has a high ceiling to then bounce into.
Yeah, I think if you're sitting at the top of the table, 2 points is a decent gap, especially with only 1 game to go. You know, if you get that top 3 even, then, you know, most of the time you're going to be winning out there, because unless, you know, your fellow 15-point competitor also gets that top 3, you know, you're probably going to be placing over them. So you want to play consistent, probably want to take slightly less risks. But I think it's important to just play your game as well, and not like stress out about it too much, because when you're focusing on the placement, I think it gets a lot harder to play. So yeah, just sort of relax. You've done well in the first 2 games already. Keep doing what you're doing, because obviously it's working.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is a good chance. We didn't really get a chance to talk to you about it before, but the one thing I wanted to bring into the conversation was, of course, Stormy, your experience in Las Vegas under what would be a very similar situation like this. I mean, what you told us today, was that what you were telling yourself at the time?
Yeah, I think there was a lot of stress in Vegas, to be fair, especially with the cutoffs being like 3 games like this as well, and being very brutal cutoffs. But I think it's getting into that flow and just going, you know, I can do this. Like, you know, I've done good in this first game. I'm already doing well. Just got to keep playing well and doing what I'm doing, and not almost try not to think about the points. Try not to look at them and just be like, okay, look, you know, I got like a second in this game. We're doing good. There's 2 more games to go. All I have to do, get some clean top 4s, and we're doing good. I'd say when you start off on the loss, I actually, in my second round on the first day, I got an 8th in my first game. So I almost got eliminated on day 1. And then I managed to get a 4th into a first. So that last game, there was a lot of pressure on. So maybe people who are lower down on these standings, they have that pressure there where they need to do it. But, you know, if you're playing the tournament, you know what you're capable of, and you just got to go in with like a fresh mindset to each game. Even if you've gone 8th, you can still go first the next game.
All right, let's get into it. This will be our final game of the day. We are at table 1 with the players who have performed the best across this competition. You said coming into this one, the big thing here is that we've got our points for the players in the lobby, or at least for most players. We'll have to get that fixed in the future. But as you can see, there is a very small spread between top and bottom place in the table overall. But we will be looking out to see if Brayson and Christ Warrior can keep up their performance. Nobody's had a clean sheet so far. Brayson went first and then second. Warrior went second and then first. So, we mentioned the tiebreakers before. One of the tiebreakers will, of course, be first places. I think it's going to be a very tight lobby all the way up to the end.
Yeah, that is true. And can you just check for me again, because my stream sort of bugged out a bit there. Was it loot subscription that ended up being picked up off the carousel?
It is.
Okay, fantastic. Well. I like I like augments like this because I like augments that add a lot of variation to the game. Right? And I know that a lot of high elo players tend to go for the less varied. Sorry, not augments. Portals tend to go for the less varied portals because they like games to just sort of be in their control. But this makes for much more fun viewing, right? When you don't know what to expect, when you don't necessarily know what's going to come out.
Well, I'm sorry to say, as a challenger player, I do step on this every single time. I don't care. Call of the Night last set was great fun. I love this portal. It's so much fun. There's so much random stuff going on. Sometimes, you know, it sucks and you just get bad RNG and you lose. But you know, I love just like you get that little orb that pops up at the start of each stage. You know, it's so much fun. You just, what's waiting inside? Nobody knows.
I mean, the big thing that kind of stands out for me that we're in what effectively is what previously known as the Hall of Nine is that spatulas are potentially up for grabs here. Every drop will come in across the entire lobby, but if we do see those spatulas being dropped, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong about this, Dry, but presumably that is going to push people away from Disco somewhat, being that it's not a composition that makes great use of the spatulas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can look at it two ways, right? In the sense that you can also be running a extremely uncontested disco line because nobody else in the lobby is going to be looking at it. So you have the chance to maybe focus on hitting all your units, maybe 3-starring a TF, all of that. But also, if people are hitting 10 pentakill, if people are hitting 10 KD in your lobby, you're not guaranteeing a first place, but you could maybe look at forcing into the top 4.
Yeah, it looks like unfortunately we only got a Reforger this time, so nothing too fun. But, you know, maybe on stage 3 we'll get something a bit more exciting, some tomes, some spatulas coming in. I definitely agree with the sort of playing this disco line even when there's spatulas, because people, they don't want to do it because they want to play a line that uses these spatulas, but disco is still strong. It's not like the comp changes, and it's loot subscription. You could be dropped 2 spatulas, and then you have a Tactician's Crown, and you know, a +1 is really good in the disco comp.
Let's go take a look around and see where everyone started then. So, Devar, with a clear mind, is off to a decent start. Christ Warrior will be here with the Idealism and has found a very early Riven as well, so a very strong start there. Concerto, with the, oh boy, gosh, the shock treatment and the double static shift from the beginning, so I guess we know roughly where they're going long term. Hank, true damage from the beginning and finding a very, very early Yasuo. Be interested to see if that one stacks up. Squampy with a Heartsteel start, but with a country backup. Unicorn also going for the Yasuo start. Yuki with Disco, and Punk from the Brain side of things. So, I guess we can start off here down towards the bottom and work our way up. So we've got a Clear Mind start for Devar. You know, how do you guys feel about Clear Mind at the moment?
I have never played Clear Mind in my entire life, and it's one of those augments that just when it comes up, I skip on it because I don't know how to play it. I refuse to learn how to play it, and the way that it functions irritates me because I really like to use the bench as my way of like pivoting into things. I'm not capable of switching entirely that fast, so I need to have that bench available so that I'm able to switch into a comp whenever I deem fit.
I think it's a difficult augment to play. I think last patch we saw people take Clear Mind and just full open, basically. We had that sort of full open meta going on, and it would give you such a massive economy boost. I think this patch, with the value on winning rounds a lot more as well, and the loss streak not being as valuable, just taking Clear Mind and losing your whole stage makes it really hard to actually build a strong board going into stage 3, because you can't hold any of those units that would help you get to that stronger board. So I actually prefer to take Clear Mind with an already strong board. You want to take a headliner, you want to try and kill some units, be relatively strong, and in that case it will just augment and buff up your economy rather than, you know, sort of being the main sole provider of everything for your game plan. It means that, you know, Dava's going to take some big losses here, and he's going to have to roll down on stage 3 to stop dying, basically.
It's worth noting, we'll keep a light touch on Devar because they are our random players, so they're not a tournament player in this lobby. But they should still have a big impact. Up at the top we have got a couple of players who kept their streaks going from the early going. So Ukrainian, of course, committed to the disco. Don Unicorn with the Edge Lord start up here. So do you remember from before? I'm just going to dig through and see if I can find our other Yasuo player. There we go. So Henk and Unicorn and Christ Warrior. We've already got a 3-way contest on the Edgelord line. I mean, you know, Dry, do you think we're going to see players backing out of it in the same way we saw in the Disco line before?
Possibly. I mean, having the Edgelord headliner be Yasuo means it's very easy to sort of slip out of whenever you want. The items aren't exclusive to the Edgelord trait either. The fact that you have that Hodge means you can pivot into things like an Akali carry or the frontline units. I think there was one of the boards which had Idealism as well, with the Hodge on the Riven. That one would probably be better to see on the Viego rather than on the Riven, just because Riven usually you want to see the QSS and things like that, but it can still be very strong. That extra damage is going to help them in those early rounds. Just need to see a bit more sort of flexibility in the comp, because you're not necessarily going to be able to force this Edgelord line if there's so many people going along with it.
Yeah.
Also, hard steel Cassante. Just had to put that in.
Yeah, there is a hard steel Cassante there. I think getting that Viego early, you know, Christ Warrior is looking here to maybe commit to that Edgelord line, but you can also just go into the Pentakill line with these Hand of Justice and a sword. It's very open. I think playing around with like the Edgelords really earlier can actually be really strong. Like Yasuo is a really good item holder. Not, you know, we can see here the Edgelord's not quite strong enough to beat this Disco board, which is taking the 5 streak all the way to Krugs, but you know, it still kills a couple of units. It's not too bad of a loss. I think it's a good transitionary board.
Yeah, I feel like I'd be tempted to put the Hodge and the BT just onto that Viego, no? Because you have the Riven on the bench as well that you can throw in. I know you're sacrificing a Riven for not much reason, but just having that Viego with Idealism, Hodge, and BT makes him seem extremely strong.
Yeah, I'd be hesitant to slam the BT, but definitely putting these items on Viego would be nice.
Yeah.
We'll keep a close eye on how things develop for Christ Warrior, because certainly they've been building up the 8-bit stacks for a while. Deval, we've just piped him back in, checking the Clear Mind is still functioning as expected. Squampy is moving into an area to contest Deval on the Lost Streak side of things, so we saw how powerful Country was in Chashinanchi's hands last time around. We'll see how well Squampy is able to run a line. I mean, Drogue, based on what we've got item-wise right now for this potential Country board. Oh, actually, hold the phone that one. We got a Tome of Trades. I guess this just throws all conversation out the window.
So if the country doesn't pop up, I was going to say if the country popped up, that would be like a surefire Country 7 force, no, at that point. Just get that Giga Hecarim on the board. But it does get Executioner instead. So there's interesting ways you could look at this. You could look at this as then forcing the Executioner 6, or getting Country 5 and Executioner 4 on the same board.
I think with this Executioner spat, I actually think it's one of the strongest ones in the game as well. It's a non-craftable one, so getting the tomes here, you know, really opens up that 6 Executioner line. A lot of the time, because all the Executioners are like carries, you don't have very much frontline. But now you have this spat, you've got that open slot to fit in another unit that can act as your frontline. You know, we could see this going from what looked like a not fantastic position to maybe a really strong one.
Oh, we got Twin Terror coming in as well. Oh. You gotta be tempted. No!
Rerolls it. Okay. Exposed is really strong with the... But, like, Twin Terror, man. But, yeah, I understand.
I've seen people running the, you know, the Samira Vex or Samira Karthus-based versions, but, yeah, I mean, that is pretty amazing. Decides not to go for it, instead commits in for the Country line. I'm honestly astonished, because we don't even have any Armor Shred on Squampy's team as of yet. That exposed weakness, whew, that's a big pass, but maybe it'll pay off with the money coming in for the Augment instead. Yeah,
well, you have the Even Shroud on the front, which is providing some Shred, but...
Oh, my bad, yes.
It would have been interesting to see just if you can force 6 Executioner and every single one is popping that Shred and Sunder at the same time. It means that the entire board on the enemy is basically sundered or shredded. The country bounty hunters line does mean that you're just a bit better on the side of your econ, and it means you're getting some more passive income coming in, which, as we mentioned, is quite good now that the streak gold has been nerfed. But it'll be interesting to see how this progresses, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I have a vendetta against this bounty hunters augment because I went 8 with it in Vegas, so I'm not a fan. But taking the exposed weakness when you already have shred is less value, so I can definitely see the angle here. And we've got this executioner spat online as well. The country angle here is looking really good, and maybe next stage we'll get dropped another spatula. We'll get that 7 country. Anything can happen in loot subscription.
That's true. We are in a very rarefied air. Let's scoot around and check what everyone else is up to. So Yuki with the disco ball from 4. So we've got the spatula in play, which, as we noted before, is a little tricky. Though we have got a reforger, so if necessary, you could always reforge it into something else. Oh no, never mind. Yuki has also got the Tome of Traits as well. So, well, Yuki's doing pretty well here. I'm kind of curious to see where the spatula goes and where the tome goes as well.
Yeah, I think she's holding that tome just to make sure that when it's popped, she definitely gets like a good trait. We've only got 7 traits in at the moment, and I know we're a long way off from set 9 where we're used to tailoring every game, but she's probably thinking about tailoring that tome to make sure that we got those traits in that we want to get. So she probably wants to get at least 8 for those 2 choices, maybe even more to get more of those guaranteed choices. Because disco, when you get some random spatulas, it's not very good, but there are some really good options. Disco, Jazz, even things like Spellweaver, Dazzler, Bruiser. So the setup we've got at the moment is looking pretty good.
Yeah, and I feel like we're a few stages away now a few rounds away from getting that stage 4 big reward. And I feel like we've been talking a lot about, the meta and TFT and game states. So it's nice for us to just sit back and have a little relax and maybe check in with each other. So how's everyone doing? I feel like we don't ask each other enough, sort of, if we're okay and if we're enjoying the gameplay and if we're all ready for what's about to happen on stage 4.
Oh boy. I honestly, Salah, thank you for asking. It's warmed up a little bit, at least where I am in the UK. So I'm feeling warmer than I was earlier this morning. I don't know. How about you, Stormy? Are you feeling the chill?
Oh, it's definitely feeling warmer. Virtue, thanks to my radiator being on, but definitely waking up a bit as well. I was up maybe a little bit late last night playing a new game called Power World. If anyone's seen that,
outrageous.
So, but
everyone's been playing it.
Definitely waking up and getting into it now.
Yeah.
I definitely did not spend the entirety of yesterday playing that game. No, there are no crimes being done here.
Yeah, it couldn't have been me either. Definitely not.
I'd be interested to see the numbers on the static shift this game with the shock treatment, because obviously having that double static over this many rounds, it has to have racked up some disgusting damage.
Oh yes. Who was that? Well, this is Concerto, who has actually picked up something other than, because I would have sworn up and down the country that we were going to be seeing this turned into a Twisted Fate ball, but I mean, maybe we don't have a ton of centers, but I guess I could conceive of a world where this is kind of used as a supportive thing for a true damage board.
I think getting those rapid fires is really good for spreading those stack shifts early. I know we haven't got rapid fire in at the moment, but hopefully Concerto can get that rapid fire in, spread those shifts, and probably just use it as like a transitionary board for whatever he's going for later on. You can see he's got the KDA spat from that tome. Maybe thinking about Seraphine or playing some Ari, something along those lines.
Oh no, you're right. I think I was so focused on looking at the status shifts, didn't even notice that one there. So, alright, yeah, so we've got some good long-term potential. Stormy, Mousasaur is very excited to see you casting that, if that's a friend of yours in the chat.
Yeah, he's a friend. He's always there cheering me on. I don't know if he might have been there during GSE as well. Cheering me
really?
On. Yeah.
That's really awesome.
So shout out to him, my friend Steve. He's always there cheering for me. We got a ton of gold going into stage 4 from that loot subscription. So things are really heating up here. I think that was 40 gold that Concerto just got.
It was a lot. Let's take a look and see what people have been buying with it. So Christ Warrior's up to 4 8-bit with an 8-bit spatula, and is just we're getting a ton of upgrades coming in. That gold has been spent in spades. Yuki does go to level 8 off of that gold without a streak. Christ Warrior and Squampy are both streaking right now, so let's just check what Squampy is up to. Of course, it's the Executioner board from before, so that means a lot more gold for rerolls, but not enough gold to keep Squampy's streak going. Christ Warrior, the only one to maintain the streak all the way through, as I have no idea what's going on with that visual effect there. But the board, the 8-bit board itself, is not only good, but has the potential to go to 6 8-bit long term.
No, Counterfeit, I hate to focus on one thing this much, but do you mind looking back at that little KDA static shiv board for me? Because I'm going to make a prediction here, which is about to swing this lobby on its head. We're going to get stage 5. We're going to be delivered a KDA spat. And with all the gold that's in the lobby, we're going to level all the way to 9. And with all of that, we're going to chuck in an Evelyn. We're going to chuck in a couple more units. We're going to hit the 10 KDA line that we so desperately want to see. And we'll win the game. There's the
I feel like some of that was less of a prediction because you were just saying what was happening, but sure. Alright.
Out of all the games where we could have had 10 Heart Steel, this could have been the one, but I don't think there's anyone with a Heart Steel spat currently in the lobby.
No.
Oh,
No one really.
The angry chat wants us to go look at Brayson, because admittedly we haven't looked at Brayson for a while and people are hype for Brayson.
That's fair.
So we've got... Okay, let's start breaking down what we've got going on here, because there's a lot going on. We've got a Bruiser board, we've got Virtue the Martyr. Brayson's setup here is looking pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Darvar's going to be able to survive this, only on 6 HP, and that TF... Maybe if they get one more cast off, but that front line has been pretty much decimated, all but that Blitzcrank. TF now rinsed, so Darvar with a board that didn't look too weak, but does get knocked out quite early here, straight after the third augment comes in, so won't be seeing too much of a strong board. We do see a 3-star Riven already from Christ Warrior, with that 4-8-bit Edge Lord comp.
Yeah, and he's got that 8-bit spat on Viego as well. It's a shame the Riven wasn't an 8-bit chosen. But we can still still see 2 more spatulas come in as well, and 6 8-bit is a huge spike, and maybe we'll even see the fabled 6 8-bit cash out. We'll have to keep an eye on that as we get later on into the game.
Yeah, 3-star Yone just hit by Henk as well, so won't be too much to contest for him there.
Well, I suppose Henk... I guess with Davar being knocked out so early, I was kind of expecting more players to be on lower HP, but Concerto, of the Static Shiv fame, and Henk both around the 30s or so, so they definitely need to be getting their wins in now. But a 3-star Yone is certainly a decent way to make that happen. Does get a little bit CC, but nothing too serious on Concerto's side of things. Oh my gosh, I generally don't know what's going on with that. Again, we are early days as a spectator, so there are some visual bugs still to be worked out. I think that both of them will not win that last round. Let's go from Squampy's point of view. There we go. We can see that Concerto takes the L there, despite what should have been a very strong early start.
Yeah, and has that 6th country now available on the board, so having that extra country in doesn't really activate anything, but does of course make the Hecarim just that little bit stronger, giving him... I think it's bonus AD, correct me if I'm wrong?
Yeah, I think it's a bonus like all the stats. It gets a bit bigger, gets some HP, AD.
Large.
And he's just a strong horse coming in. Sometimes you can get straight into that backline as well and just ruin your day. So having that Hecarim be powered up. He's also set up for, the spatula or the tome drop on stage 5. Be straight into that 7 country as well, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Interesting thing from Concerto, managing to grab hold of the spatula there. Of course, I'm very happy about it. So you promised us we would see a KDA 10 in this game. I guess all we need to do is find a headliner.
All we need to do is find a headliner, find a rod, and the game is wrapped up. I mean, we do have to hit level 9 as well. That's the main issue right now. Is that not on tons of gold and only 25 HP to play with.
Yeah, I think the potential is there, but the spot that Concerto's finding himself in is a bit scary still. A lot of items that aren't really like the best carry items. We've only got a Lulu headliner. Didn't manage to find a KDA headliner in any of those roles. Bleeding out to this massive Riven 3 board as well. We might end up with the 2 KDA spatulas, but I'm not sure we're going to get to 10 KDA.
Yeah, and to kind of bounce off what Stormy said, the lobby is in such a strong state right now. There's just so many strong teams that it is very hard to hold on. 11 HP now, that's pretty much one round away from loss, so we'll be begging to make it to the Raptors round.
Yeah, I think Concerto was maybe shooting too high there with trying to get in the extra spatula. As much as it would have been a big step up in power, I just don't know if they have enough time. Let's keep checking around whatever people are up to though. Hank just above on the Edgelord Crowd Diver setup. Yone 3 and the Edgelord spatula on the Z as well as the fully itemized Viego. This is looking pretty solid.
Yeah, and the 3 Gargantuan resolves attached now, the 2 on the Viego and the 1 on the Yone. Obviously not as much Omnivamp perhaps as you'd like on the Yone, but the BT will be quite enough, and the resistances flying in from the Gargantuan as well feel quite nice, as well as the damage, as he does scale quite well with both AP and AD.
Yeah, I really like the choice to go into long distance powers as the second augment here, because when you have those stacking Gargantuan resolves, you get so much extra stats on those, and giving it to essentially 2 units on your board, they both share those stacking stats, means that, you know, as you scale into that fight, both of your carries get really, really strong.
Oh, that's a really good shout. This works very well as Concerto will go out. Wasn't able to put together the dream board, but this will give us a chance to go in and check on everyone. Of course, the crowd favorite Branson is still up and looking pretty good. The Heartsteel has been active for a while along this Bruiser board, so managing to maintain this much HP while still getting the drip feed of mostly win streak Heartsteel bodes well for the late game.
Yeah. And just looking at the board, having that Ziggs on the bench as well. One of the nice things about Ziggs when you're running a Jazz comp is that he can activate traits so easily. So obviously gets the free Hyper Pop if you want to chuck him in for that Lulu. If you put him alongside a Bard, you're activating Hyper Pop plus an extra degree of Jazz plus an extra degree of Dazzler, which is add so many traits to that Jazz comp.
It looks like the loot subscription was an Orn Anvil for everyone this time, so no crazy injection of gold, no more spatulas to go around this time. Just another item, which definitely helps you itemize your secondary carries, but you know, isn't super game changing like we had the last 2 stages. I think this Brayson board is very interesting. You wouldn't think it's that strong. It doesn't look conventional, but we've got a lot of good units on here, a lot of frontline and a lot of power, and you know, I think he's playing really well to just sort of play his strongest board, and it'll be interesting to see where he ends this game.
Yeah, I can see why people are excited to see Brayson play like this, though unfortunately, see, the front line isn't, I think, maybe quite as strong as it could be. Ezreal at least has a decent matchup into Riven, but not strong enough to get the win away. Brayson will fall down just a little bit, but still maintaining a solid HP lead over the rest of the lobby. Let's pop down to Yuki, though, who's just found a 2-star Alawi. This board, seemingly, you know, I don't think we're going to get too much better than this. We've not got the 2-star Sona, but everything else is looking good.
Yeah, I mean, having that 6 disco just feels so nice here with quite a strong front line. Obviously, you'd like to hit 2 stars on the Blitzcrank and the Zac if possible, but still got quite a ways to go. Still 34 HP, so we'll guaranteed make it to the carousel round at the very least. Was a bit unlucky there for Brayson, I think, losing that last round as well. Riven was within like 100 HP of dying quite a few times, but just managed to be kept alive by that Omnivamp.
Yeah, I think Yuki here is really happy that this tome ended up in a disco spatula. If it wasn't, then you know, it might have been a bit of a scary spot. This Bard is, you know, he's trying to pretend that he's Ziggs, but if that was a Ziggs, I think we'd be looking a lot happier here. So maybe on the carousel, if Yuki can find a Ziggs, or maybe something like a Rage Blade or another frontline item, she'd be feeling in a lot better spot.
We do only have the 1-star Blitzcrank in place, and Alawi's doing her darndest, but he maybe just isn't matching up quite the same way. We don't have Sentinel online either. So I'm a little bit worried for Yuki. Hank in the mid-table is putting up a decent performance here again. This is the Yone board from previous. But the Riven board up at the top, has been on top of the lobby for a long time, providing so much pressure down to everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, just sitting on that 8-bit stack is, again, as we mentioned earlier, it would have been nice to see that 6-8-bit on the Riven, but with the Edgelord buff, is able to activate both those traits at a pretty high standard. So just so strong here. The Omnivamp's so good. The QSS as well mean that she just can't get CC'd, can't get one-popped by any of the lobbies.
Yeah, and this 8-bit onto the Viego as well gives him so much AD as well. He's really like a duo carry, and then this Caitlyn's starting to get itemized as well. We're going to have 3 carries online. We've hit the Yorick 2 on 8 as well. This board's looking really strong, and honestly, I'm not sure if he's losing a round for the rest of the game. It might just be a full streak until the end.
Nice carousel here with the Ziggs and a Sona on there. Guizu's Rage Blade as well to help push a potential Sona's power. So we've got multiple players around 20 HP or so, all the way from 3rd place down to 6th place right now. Remember that these players in this lobby are fighting for the tournament crown. Let's do a quick reminder of what the points are overall. So coming to this one, Christ Warrior was tied for the lead and is in 1st place. Brayson, similar position, top points, currently one of the top players. Blonde Unicorn on 14 points, so just one behind in 3rd. Squampy in a similar position. So looking like for the most part, everybody is in a good spot, but if Brayson and Christ Warrior stay up in those top spaces, it will not be possible to make top 2.
Yeah, and I mean, Yuki's starting to win now as well, which is quite nice, which means that we might have quite a stacked lobby going into the Elder Drake round. Be able to see them realize most of their comps. But as we've mentioned so many times already, this Riven comp now just so strong, so hard for anyone to deal with. 13 wins in a row, just been sitting at the top, waiting for anyone strong enough, which it looks like we have found.
Yeah, these are our top 2 against each other, and Brayson actually takes the streak away from Christ Warrior. I mean, these two are tied directly on points, so there is an aspect that they are directly fighting each other in this lobby for the 1st place in the tournament.
Yeah, it's really looking like it's going to shape out to who's going to go first between Christ Warrior and Brayson. It was the battle at the end of that last game we caught a snippet of as well, and it looks like this might be the battle for first. I think we've got some really strong boards online as well, with like Henk with the Yone 3 that could challenge this as well, but the HP is maybe just not enough to keep him in the running. The HP gap between Brayson and everyone else is still pretty substantial.
Let's see what Scompy's got for us. The country board, not quite up to 4 Executioner, go up against the newly humbled Christ Warrior from that previous round. Still a very scary board indeed. So much that it's going to be on the Samira, and she gets annihilated. Squampy is out of there. Yuki looks like she might be able to just hold on, but the backline dies thanks to Blonde Unicorn and all of those lasers.
I don't think we've seen Blonde Unicorn's board for a while, but we've got a Lux 3 going on here with a Dazzler Spat as well, and the old Razzle Dazzle. So there's definitely some dazzling going on here. 5 EDM in. We saw this 4 Bruiser Lux comp as well, and it looks like this one's putting up some work in this lobby actually.
Yeah, and with our top 4 locked in now as well, you did mention that Henk could challenge, but obviously losing that last round now down to within just the last few inches of his life. He thought maybe that 2-star Viego could have maybe bumped his comp up a bit more, but so much strength left in these last few lobbies. Obviously, that Riven comp essentially just a better version of this with the 8-bit Edgelord instead of the Crowd Diver Edgelord. Brayson obviously such a strong composition as well with that Ezreal, Caitlyn, Lucian standard backline that we're used to seeing quite often.
Oh, and we got another 50 gold or something here as well. So that's going to change up how this lobby shakes out as well. These players at the top just got a massive gold injection to cap out their boards even higher. And maybe these players at the bottom, like Henk, maybe he needed that gold just to stabilize and make sure that he can actually start winning these rounds. Because if he loses anymore, he's out. He really needs to win every round from here on out.
I'd have to. It looked like for Blonde Unicorn there actually wasn't a ton more to come into that board, so maybe we're pushing levels. But yeah, Hank down to the last gasp here. Keep your eye out on that Yone dancing through the middle of the board, but gets between multiple carries and gets annihilated. That's it for Hank. We're down to our top 3 with Blonde Unicorn also losing that round. We are headed towards the head-on collision between Brayson and Christ Warrior.
Yeah, and it's looking more and more likely now that the two people at the top of the leaderboard are going to be the two people fighting it out for first place in this game, which could end up winning them the entire day. I mean, Brayson now on that win streak, just looking so strong. The 8-bit Viego was able to clean out Hank's board there, but will it be enough to take on this Gigazag?
Yeah, I think this is going to be, pretty much a long race between Brayson and Christ Warrior to see who's going to take it first. We might even get up to stage 7. We might be looking for these 3-star forecasts, looking at ways to cap out your board just that little bit higher than your opponent, because whoever wins out of these two is the winner of the tournament.
Yeah, Brayson does against Blonde Unicorn. It's looking like it's not even going to be too much of a contest there at all. There's just too much raw power unleashed. So both of our top 2 players win out that previous round. So we will have the 1v1 between the two of them. Cash out, of course, immediately. But alright guys, start breaking down for me here. What are the concerns in this matchup? 8-bit Edgelord versus Bruiser Jazz.
Well, I mean, you're going to be looking at especially at ways to sort of just push that edge, right? So can you get the 7 Edgelord in any way, which would just make your comp so much stronger? Are you looking at 3-starring your forecast in the back line now? Because there isn't really anyone that's close to 3-starring a forecast yet. I mean, that Caitlyn is sitting at only 3 units. There's only 3 Caitlyns on that board as well. So who are you really looking to make your board stronger other than the 5 costs, which you can look at the 2-star?
Yeah, I think it all comes down to the decision here. They're both level 9. It looks like Christ Warrior's trying to push for that level 10 to get that 7 Edgelord in, whereas it looks like Brayson might prefer to stay on level 9 here. He's been ticking over those Heartsteel cash outs as well, so he's been getting a lot of power throughout the game from that, and maybe that's enough to give him the edge. But we'll have to see once this 7 Edgelord comes online if that is also the tipping point for Christ Warrior that's really going to make his board so much stronger and get through that really beefy front line that Brayson's got built up.
Yeah, that Pentakill emblem now being picked up means he has space to maybe drop out one of these excess units that he's got on the board, or look to even push for...
Ooh.
Okay, 2-star on the Lucian there as well. Just find ways to make this board a little bit stronger.
Alright, the rolls are coming through, so yeah, I was with you there. I thought maybe Christ Warrior would be moving towards level 10, but when we've got the Cane there ready to go, we could have the 7 Edgelord on right now. We'll see where the Pentakill emblem ends up being dropped, because Brayson has been winning these most recent rounds. We'll see in a second, but Brayson's been cooking in the meantime, which is an emo emblem on the Caitlyn on the backline. I don't think I've seen that one before, but let's see how well it works.
Oof, that's a solution.
Definitely an interesting choice that helps Caitlyn cast a bit more. It looks like the Pentakill spat was just enough here actually to push this one over. So that damage reduction coming in, we've got an Olaf in. Hopefully that will be upgraded to a slightly better unit, maybe Maud, maybe something else. I did think we were going to go for the 7 Edgelord, but maybe the Pentakill spat on the carousel changed his mind. He wanted to flex his board a bit more. I'd be interested to see as well. Maybe he drops out of these 5 Edgelords even. We've got a Yone on here, not doing too much. Maybe he goes. Maybe we go up to 7 Pentakill. We could see a complete transformation come over the dragon.
Yeah, and I think having that 2-star Viego and the 2-star York as well maybe helped inform that decision, just because those were 2 massively strong units, and while buffing the Edgelord could have ticked it over, it was a bit less risky to just go for the win now than force it for later.
Intrigued by this, the Thieves' Gloves on the Cane, as this round goes wildly different. Brayson fans unite and tear the house down, because that was a crushing victory. I mean, I don't even begin to know, how were those 2 rounds so different from each other?
I believe it was the 2-star Cane with the Thieves' Gloves on it that just got hit, as well as a slight change of positioning, but you could correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think the Cane items were great at stalling, and I think also the positioning was better here. So we had the Zac right in front of the Riven, as well as that Ezreal and Caitlyn right there, just to burst that Riven down. And if this Riven can't get through the front line and into the back line, then she's not really going to be doing too much. She's just going to sort of be sitting there. We got a Spatula coming out for the loot subscription, which at this stage of the game doesn't do much, because players don't tend to have open components.
It made crown.
It did make a Tactician's Crown for Brayson, actually, so huge for Brayson. Christ Warrior looks like he doesn't have anything to do it.
If I could emo him.
Other than an emo spat video name.
Do it! It represents his feelings. Because, yeah, that's a huge turn. Brayson, yeah, gets an extra unit. Christ Warrior gets nothing, and already was losing the previous round pretty substantially. We'll see if that Caitlyn is able to go off. She has got the Pentacle Spatula. She gets the kills. Her damage will be off the charts. Gets stunned. We have the emo version of the Caitlyn firing back, but I think this time it goes to the edgelords, and we couldn't ask for a better end to the competition, swinging backwards and forwards round for round.
Yeah, one more cash out here, gets a total.
Yes!
Goes for the Jazz emblem to just pop up to 4 Jazz, max out the trait. Bit more HP, bit more damage all around.
So we thought that the Tactician's Crown was going to be huge for Brayson. Then he ended up losing, even with that power spike. But this Jazz emblem is, getting up to this 4 Jazz now. It's harder than it was before, which means it's also stronger than it was before. It's a really big difference across this whole board. I think this might be enough to push it over the edge.
Brayson wins here. He stays in it. If he loses, I believe Christ Warrior will take the tournament title. Oh my gosh, it's getting pretty fierce as it's Riven, of course, will get access to that backline. We have still got some damage dealers left up in the mix. The Riven is still up. The Zed is on 3 items, bouncing around the house, but gets dropped by the Riven. I think this is it, Brayson. A hell of a run, but it's Christ Warrior who takes the win. An incredible finals.
Yeah, congratulations to Christ Warrior. It was, nail-biting stuff. We had no idea really up until the last round who was going to be able to take that one on. Even with the Tactician's Crown, even with the Jazz emblem, just wasn't enough to overcome that Edgelord Pentakill line, which ended up being so strong with the addition of the Pentakill emblem at the end of the game there, with those 2-star and 3-star carries, just so strong from Christ Warrior.
Yeah, I think the positioning in that last round, those last couple of rounds really played a big difference. We saw that Riven get through the front line. It wasn't stuck on the Zac. It managed to go all the way through, kill those backliners, Ezreal and Caitlyn. And then all that was left for Brayson was that Zed and Zac to try and finish it up, but the Riven 3 was just too strong in the end.
Oh my gosh. So we are going to wait on final confirmation of our results, but we've got a pretty good idea of what everything ended up looking like as a result of that final game. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so Christ Warrior, of course, will take first place with Brayson in second because they were directly against each other in that previous game. And honestly, for a 3-round tournament, that's pretty amazing, considering that's not normally the way it works. I'm going to see if we can get Christ Warrior to come on stream and talk to us. Just drop yourself into a voice chat. And we can hear a little bit about the last game in particular, because that was absolutely wild. So we will be, of course, doing our random giveaway prizes. So I suppose since we know who came in first and second, we don't need to actually go any further than that in terms of eliminating them from winning twice. I'm going to grab everybody else's name and we can start chucking them in the wheel name. So because we've got the observer mode, we're switching the streamer prize across to being another random prize, at least for the time being. So I'm going to pull up the randomizer wheel. So with you both being first timers here, so we're going to pick 3 different people to receive the same prize as first and second place, because it being a casual competition, who cares who wins? Yeah, we care a little bit, but not like a ton. Just the right amount. Alright, before we do though, let's hear a word from Christ Warrior as we valiantly attempt to drag them up Discord's extremely hard to use interface. Go on. Yeah. Ah, jeez. Alright, a second. There we go. Alright. No, that's not the right person. That's Mike AoE 2. Sorry, Mike. Let's chuck you out again. And chuck you back in out again. Right, I think we finally got it figured out. Christ Warrior, welcome to the stream. Congratulations on your win. Is everything working? Can you hear us okay?
Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah, well, I'll ask the most obvious question first of all. How does it feel to be the champion of Counter Casual Competition number 70?
It feels pretty good. Like I woke up at like 8 a.m. and was wondering, should I play or should I go to sleep? But I decided on playing. That was me.
I was so tempted to say, which did you decide? Yeah.
The
No,
games were
amazing.
pretty hard because Brayson was like very good. I had to think a lot about my positioning.
No, that's I think it's a very good idea. The Brayson fans in the chat are very excitable. So, but no, absolutely, Brayson did very good there. Salad, do you have any thoughts from that previous game you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I mean, look, you said you woke up and you were kind of deciding, should I even play, should I not play, should I just go back to bed? But seeing as you did play, you know, you managed to wake yourself up, you managed to drag yourself out of bed. I was wondering, what, if you had anything, did you have anything nice for breakfast? What did you have for breakfast? What's your pre-game meal? What sort of, what energizes you to go win out a tournament like this?
I was eating a baguette. Like that's all I ate.
Just a plain baguette, completely plain.
Not plain. Like I forgot the word. Wait for a while. I need to translate it.
Okay, sure.
The meal of champions. This is, we should write
Garlic
this down.
baguette
Oh, okay.
with garlic. It's pretty good.
Oh, nice.
Good way to start the day.
Yeah, and Stormy, did you have anything you wanted to ask?
Yeah, so going into that game 3, when you saw it landed on loot subscription, what were your thoughts? Are you a fan of the portal or do you absolutely hate it?
I am a gambler. I either go A or first.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Is there anything you would like to shout out? Do you have, Twitch or social media that you'd like people to know about?
No. I'm just playing like for myself, not streaming or anything.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'll drop you back down in the chat. And again, congratulations on an extremely well played tournament. Right. So, gentlemen, for now, we're gonna do our last bit of business here before we send off our stream somewhere else, which is to do our grand old wheel of names. So let's switch across to.
Can I ask you something, Counterfeit, before? Because
yes.
there's something very important I need to check up on. Which is that there were 2 members of the chat who said that they were going to try and force a certain number of Heartsteel champions in their lobby. And I was wondering if you have any idea if either of them managed to hit.
They haven't called it out. I feel, well, I will put this out to you, gentle chatters. If you did hit Heartsteel 10, please do let us know. I'm assuming if someone hit that, they would have let us know immediately because it was so unlikely. But if that is, so Diane tried to, but never got the 3rd spot, and is very sad about it. As the initiator of this competition, and obviously Heartsteel enjoyer, Salad, what words would you give to those who strived to meet this standard of excellence you put before them?
There is. Oh, I have a good quote for this one. But this wait, this requires me to find my phone because I wrote down this quote somewhere. So I'm gonna dip into my bag. While I do that, you do the first spin, and I'll come back.
Yeah, let's do the first spin while we wait for these pearls of wisdom that have been secreted away. So Stormy, this will be for the first of our 3 random giveaways today, which will be for little RP packets. To thank people for taking part. Would you mind counting us in 3, 2, 1, and then I'll spin that wheel.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1, spin.
So this doesn't include our 1st and 2nd place, and we'll also eliminate anyone who's won any other prizes. Try and spread out as much as possible. Could you believe it? It's Believer getting a random prize number 1. Congratulations. Random number 1.
Congratulations.
All right, let's.
Yeah, we had a really good game from them earlier as well that we were watching, so good to reward that.
All right, I don't know if you are Stormy. Are you at all one for? Oh, actually, so this, this may well be something which isn't possible, but is it at all possible for Rakan to count us in for another one? Do you have that kind of?
No, she's not that much of a talker. She's snoozing anyway.
Okay.
She's very, very tired apparently.
Ah. Well, who wouldn't have the heart melt for a sleepy bird bud?
Yeah.
Salad, would you like to count us in for our second random giveaway winner? Unless, of course, you've got those pearls you'd like to dispense.
I'll dispense the pearls as like a goodbye message, I think. So I'll
Okay.
do the countdown. Yeah, go on. So for the next winner, 3,
Yes.
2, 1, and go.
Who's it going to be? It's... Oh my gosh, you couldn't have done it better. The one who strived to become worthy of your gifts. In fact, it was the striving itself that was all that was needed. So it's random number 2. Congratulations. We'll do one more in 3, 2, and 1. Whoop. Who will our final random winner be? And for anyone who is winning this stuff, please do make sure to add me. It's Twiggy! Twiggy from the High Rollers coming to take part in today's competition. Congratulations on being on number 3. And I think, let's see. So we've had the streamer move to random. We've got our first and second place already figured out. I think that will bring us to a tail end here. Let me just double check going back on my opening screen to see if I've forgotten anything, because I am very tired today. Let's see, so we've got random players, first and second place. Yeah, I think that's going to bring us to the tail end of that one. In which case, then the only duties we have left to disperse are, firstly, to get your good names into chat, of course. Just make sure. So, let's come back to show your faces while we do so. So, on the right is Stormy, aka Stormy Blessed, and Rakan, of course, very importantly as well. And Dry's just going to grab your link and drop that in the chat as well. Please do go follow both of them as they advance in their TFT casting careers. I'm going to have a quick look forward for someone to send the raid across to that we haven't met before. But while I do, Salad, you said you'd have some pearls of wisdom for us, for all those who strive for excellence, to reach the heights of which they had never dreamed before. What would you say to people like that?
Yes, so this is a quote which is about ego and about sort of losing the self-consciousness that you feel towards yourself. And I think that fits very perfectly for these people who are able to strip themselves of their human ego, strip themselves of their sort of self-conscious beliefs, and just go for the Heartsteel 10 and commit to what they really wanted in life. So this is for you. This is for everyone who forced Heartsteel 10 and didn't hit. The inventor of the mirror poisoned the human heart. Man shouldn't be able to see his own face. There's nothing more sinister. Nature gave him the gift of not being able to stare into his own eyes. Only in the water of rivers and ponds could he look upon himself. And the very posture symbolic. He would bend or stoop to commit the ignominy of beholding himself. Thank you.
Wow.
Very profound words there for the Heartsteel players.
Oh my gosh, I think you might have just started a tradition here. We'll have to continue on for future competitions. I'll ask people to bring some poetry for it. But again, thank you so much, Salad and Story, for doing a fantastic job here today. We're going to go head across and head out Raven and Dream VT, who's doing one of the GSC qualifiers for the rest of Amir. And hopefully, you can let them know about the casual competition and support their streaming as well. Hello again, thank you both so much. Thank you, of course, to Jika and to Wet Noodles, who is, of course, the opposite of Dry Salad, for running everything on the admin side of things. But yeah, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks' time on the 3rd of February. I'll drop a link in the chat in a minute for where you can sign up. For now, though, let's head across to check out Raven and Dream, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks' time. Alright, I think it worked. Maybe? There we go. Yes,
yeah, I went to
it is.
Raven.
Alright, let's tie it up and